Hello, welcome to the Honest Wargamer. I'm your host, Rob. We're live in the Honest Wargamer HQ here somewhere in Nottingham, located somewhere around the world. Nathan Prescott in the studio with me. Nathan, how are you?
Hello, good evening. Fine, thank you. And you?
I'm great. Jet the dog, let me ask
Jet
you.
dog?
Jet Jug, how are you? How's things? Because you're not well, I know that.
He's on steroids, so he's going to be really butch in a
you
few days.
You do look really butch, Jet. Like you're doing some push-ups at the same time. You look like the Sammy ad right now. Can you give us a wish? The podcast listeners, this is useless, but big love, Jet.
Yeah.
I got to tell you, I love everyone. Like I love dogs. And you know that's true. I actually met a lovely man this weekend called Clinton. I haven't started the show off properly in any way, shape, or form. Largy, thanks for subscribing on Twitch. I met a chap called Clinton this weekend, and he's a professional dog walker. He was at the Bloodshed at the Shire event. Lovely man. He was just like, listen to the show. We had a chat. He told me about his weekend. I think it was his first tournament.
Oh, okay.
There was a lot of first timers there, and just a lovely bloke. And he was just like, yeah, walk dogs, yeah. And I was just like, what a great life! Like, what a great life, and what a great time dogs are. All right, so hello everyone, welcome to the show. My name is Rob. I'm your host, Rob. I'm joined by Nathan Prescott. If you are watching live on Twitch, I just want to say a big shout out to you, and thank you to all of you who subscribe. Yep. If you're listening via the podcast, stay hydrated. AF. Please do that. Oh, Zurich, also, thank you for subscribing. Appreciate that a ton. Thank you for listening to the podcast. Hope you're enjoying it. Hope the audio's okay on your travels. And then if you are watching live on YouTube or Facebook, big love to you guys as well. Thank you very much. Please make sure if you want to, leave some comments and stuff, but if you want us to take any of your questions, jump on over to Twitch.
Yeah.
That's where we're taking them questions. And lastly, but not leastly, Patreon. Thank you to you guys. As of Friday, Patreon are going to get a brand new. So if you're a Patreon, expect on Friday a brand new kind of like Patreon thing that I'm doing. Those
this
videos.
Friday coming.
Yeah, this Friday coming. So it's the start of the month, so I'm on it from that point on, which is very, very exciting.
Cool.
So I thank you to you guys. I wanted to do something for all the Patreons. They've supported me for so long. And I think a lot of people support me for the live coverage and the shows we do in the week anyway. Yeah. I want to take it to the next level and have it that there's some content for those guys. So
cool.
Big love to everyone. Nathan, I'm going to ask you how you are in a second, but I'm going to say hello to everyone on Twitch first.
Yeah.
My homies and the bromies. Propagation, what up? Diadrin, Necrolepsy, Brad Glover. Great dude. Everyone is also Diadrin. Zirak, woo, I caught a live show for once. That's Nathan Prescott. Nathan, say hi, Zirak, just because.
Hello, Zirak.
If anyone that wants Nathan specifically say hello to them, let me know. Mr. Teej, good evening. Ange, On-Call GM, Captain Obvious, he's said finally. I'm sorry about don't forget that if you are one of our international viewers, we obviously had the clocks go back this weekend because of daylight savings time. So in the UK, I don't know where else does it. Does everywhere do it?
Quite a few places in the Northern Hemisphere do it. I don't think they do it down in the Southern Hemisphere for some reason.
So basically what we do is twice a year we put our clocks forward by an hour or backwards by an hour. We've now put them backwards by an hour so that we get more daylight.
We've put them back to the normal time. And then in the summer we get up an hour earlier so we can work harder.
Nice.
Get more daylight at night.
Nice. Thank you, On-Call GM, for subscribing, by the way. Ben's Dark Lord, good evening. K-Dread Speckles, thanks for subscribing. Oh, my God. Speckles did amazing this week. I'm going to talk more about that in a minute. Chris Danish, thanks also for subscribing for 2 months. Have my big love. Winky face. Jazor, Pete Pratt. Oh, my God. 2 weeks, and I'm going to go play Warhammer in Northern Ireland with Pete and the boys. Super excited. K-Dread says, hi, Nathan.
Hello, Cajun.
K-Dread.
K-Dread.
Bar UK, Cajun. What's up? And New Zealand changes as well, apparently. Japan doesn't change the clocks. That's because they're always on time. Super efficient, I reckon. Yeah. Right.
They're like, why do you want to change the clocks? That's what the time is.
If
you want to get up earlier, just get up earlier.
It hasn't bothered me because I'll be getting up for the event on the weekend, so it's been fine. So on today's show, me and Nathan are going to have a little bit of a catch-up because I haven't seen him in a couple of days. I've missed him. Also, hello to LLV in the chat. Then we'll be covering the news. Yeah, and then the main focus of this week will be we're going to have our Ossiarch Bonereapers first look. There's also the more tribes, obviously, but Games Workshop definitely making sure that we stay on our toes and work as hard as we can, which I appreciate. I'm loving like that there's been
The
4 battle
output.
tomes out. Yeah, super exciting. So that's going to be what we're talking about today. The Bone Daddies. Nath, you excited? I know you haven't looked at them at all, so you excited to learn about the Bone Daddies?
Yeah, it'd be interesting to see what they get up to.
Won't we?
Yeah.
Wonder what they're up to. That's
What
my
are those fellas doing?
What do you reckon that? Do you know about their narrative?
No.
Oh my god! Can you just speculate as to their narrative currently, based on everything that you've not heard? Bone Daddies is all I'll give you as information.
Yeah. They like a good day down at the beach. Really into sunbathing.
Okay, I'll take that. Hi, Hook and Pin. How you doing? Right. So in Japan, on time is late. You should be 10 minutes early. Oh, did not know that. Thanks, Colonel Cabbage. And Booking Ninja says, good afternoon, knee stabbers. Great to see Nathan and the Hound looking well. Got you boys on at work. And as I sand this shitty floor. Cheers. Well, I'd mop it first. Sand it.
Oh, that'd be wet. And the sander won't.
Hey, TJ Mikey. And Jet, you don't give a fuck about the bony boys, do you, Jet? Apart from if I say bone. Do you want a treat? Right, let's do news. So if anyone's got any news in the chat they want me to share, any shout outs, let me know. So there were some events this weekend. They're definitely worth talking about. For the channel, the big news is that the Age of Sigmar stat show is back.
Cool.
So LLV, Servitor, what's up? Evening. And also Zolozo, thank you so much for subscribing via Twitch Prime. And Brad Glover says that we call them the Ossiarch Bonereapers. Weird. Lee Brobley, evening. So yeah, the stat show's back. Very, very exciting. I enjoyed looking at those stats. I mean, the big takeaway headline news was obviously that events have doubled since last year.
Wow.
That's pretty crazy. I'm letting Nathan know because as much as some of you guys may have listened, Nathan definitely fucking didn't.
No.
Which is frustrating. Yeah, that's right. It says Tisrathi, time for Jetcast with some random humans in the background. It's not as important. Hey, G, missed you. Okay. Yes, there was also a Polish event this weekend as well. We'll talk about that in a second. But the stats show came back. Really cool. Some good information if you want to go check that out. I really enjoyed it. Big shout out to LLV putting that back out. I think that's, for me, that seems like a big piece of news because obviously it encompasses the whole world. We saw that pretty much everything was in that 40 to 60% bracket, which is like, it's a pretty big disparity between the 60% Skaven and the 40% Sylvaneth. But, it's still fine. The only outlier obviously was Sinesh. I'm not going to focus on that too much. But I thought that was cool. How do you feel about the stats? Twitch chat and Nath?
Yeah, sounds interesting. I'll try and catch one of the podcasts, maybe.
Well, nice. I appreciate that. It's got me in, so maybe not.
What do you talk about in that? No, should be good.
I'm excited to see how all 4 of the armies that we're seeing are going to change the shape of like the kind of like the meta, like the game that we've seen. I think the big takeaway from some of the elements that we've seen so far, obviously, is if you've got a more tribes army, or obviously you already had an Iron Jaws or a Bone Splitters army, people have put them on the table straight away. And to already pretty great effect, as we'll talk about more in a minute. But obviously with the Ossiarch Bonereapers and the Cities of Sigmar really, like, a lot of those models were not painted by a lot of people. I don't think. They're quite rare. Or you would have to paint maybe half an army again to get them on the tabletop.
Probably a fair amount of rebasing on some of them as well.
Yeah, I think that's true.
Still loads on square bases, I would have thought.
And everyone trying to find out where they found... like where they can find a battle mage. They're like, this will count as a battle mage, I reckon. Like, so
I can play these guys as Phoenix Guard, can't I?
These executioners, can I call them Phoenix Guard?
Yeah.
Great that it's back, and great that this weekend's event disagree with the stats, says Mr. Tej, Go Sylvaneth. Sneak also says, is Jet going to talk about the hot goss? I think he is. And Brian's brother says we're reviewing the Broken Bone Boys. And Andy Bryan, thanks so much for donating 500 bits to the show. That's real.
Good old Andy. I wonder if I'll see him this weekend at Blood and Glory.
Well, so that's the big news I wanted to get into.
Okay.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, Nathan Prescott is going to a competitive Warhammer event. I know you went to one day the other day in Nuneaton with the Nuneaton guys. Those guys are great, but you're now going to a 2-dayer, not a particularly popular one, but a 2-dayer. Yeah, you're going to Blood and Glory.
Yeah.
Is that correct? Are you taking a Warhammer army, Nathan? And are you going to try and win some Warhammer games?
Oh, I'm going to try. I always try to win some games. Yes, I'll take an army.
Is it going to be the opposite of Adepticon, where you got so drunk?
Oh, yeah, I'm not getting drunk this time. I've got to drive there and back again.
Speckles says, please let me grudge you, Nathan. Speckles, maybe he should play someone who is not you. That would be good. Velatron, what up? Nathan will end up this year's Masters, with one game, one tournament under his belt. Lee probably asks, does Nathan want any jelly shots of Blood and Glory?
I do, but I don't.
So, normally when we do the 40k show...
I want to hang out with Lee and do jelly shots all the time, but... maybe
if you got to drive.
I've got to drive, and I don't think I'll survive.
So people who don't know, Lee Bromley is an incredible hobbyist, but one of the things he's very famous for is he makes jelly shots that he gives his opponent as he plays. However, those jelly shots are, I think one time he made a batch and they just wouldn't freeze because they had too much alcohol in them. And anyone who's played Lee Bromley knows that they play Lee Bromley. So he's a fantastic
They don't remember
sport.
it.
No, they don't remember it. He's a fantastic sport, so that's the gag going on there. Stonehewer says, when I saw Nathan at Adepticon, I just thought he was over-invested in his El Guzzler Gargant roleplay.
Yeah, Adepticon was very messy.
It was. So look, I've got so many questions and I'm very, very excited. I will be WhatsApping you. So I'm having the weekend off.
Yeah.
I've worked the past 2 weekends and truth be told, I'm knackered, just exhausted today. And obviously I've had to try and read 2 battle tomes as well, put them into lists, all sorts of different stuff. But I'm going to be WhatsApping you every game, every game. In fact, I might. So first thing, if anyone is out there going to Blood and Glory and can just keep sending me photos of Nathan, that would just cheer me the fuck up. Yeah. Mekano, thank you for subscribing for 12 months. Happy birthday. So Nathan, what are you taking? I'm going to put my hat backwards like Ash Ketchum. I'm so fucking hype about you playing Warhammer. What are you taking?
I'm going to take the Gloomspike Gits.
Oh my god, I'm so excited. Is the Brugit in it? Oh, you've let yourself down.
I know. It's very tempting to put him in. I saw a list today that Alistair put up on Twitter.
Oh yeah, Alistair.
Yeah, we had the Gobblepalooza.
Yeah, he was at Bloodshed this weekend. Great dude.
Did he have the Gobblepalooza there?
I don't know if he had the Gobblepalooza at the weekend, truth be told, but he might have.
Yeah, I've seen a list he's put up where he's getting Mark and Darren to rate his lists or something. They're doing that, and I was suddenly so I'm taking the Skulk Mob Horde probably. Yeah. But then I'm like, maybe I'm not. Maybe I'm taking the Gobblepalooza.
No, you're not. No, how dare you? Andy Brighton just says, there's 16 of us go from our club. We will stalk him big time. Oh my God. Thanks, Andy. Appreciate that. That's right. I would like, Tomb King Tristan wants Nathan Cam. If anyone's there would like access to the Honest Wargamer Twitter account, just let us know. So, Ryan Sprello wants Nate Cam. So, what's in your list? Gloomspike Gits.
Yeah.
Right? Why are you taking them? What's your off-meta pick? What is it you think about? So, obviously, we saw Morgant list loads of ghouls this weekend. We've seen the Rise of Ironjaws, Big War, Ironjaws Allegiance. Who knows, right? Yeah. Obviously, cities, Phoenix Guard gunlines. Lots to say. Yeah, there's a lot happening in that mix, right? So what is it you think about the meta that's made you think, when you processed it and you looked at your army list, why did you think Gloomspike Gits, of all my armies, that's the one that's going to work for me?
I didn't look at the meta.
I know, it's called a setup.
You bastard. No, I just thought I wanted to try the Skulk Mob Horde. I wanted to try the battalions because we don't see them very often.
Right.
And I think the best one is the Skulk Mob Horde, so I thought I'd give it a whirl. And I've been playing loads of Scragrot, so I thought
Is that a roleplay thing?
Yeah. So I thought I'd give him a miss, actually, because try something different again. I think he's really good.
Yeah.
Probably probably should be a general, maybe. But anyway, I'm going to go with just the loon boss as the general.
So I want to talk about that because I'm fucking so excited about this list. I'm Bridewell. Thanks for subscribing. 80 back. Hello. Great seeing you at the weekend. Speckles. I'm on it. Honest Wargaming with Nathan Cam at 3 a.m. in Marshall Nightclub. Well, he will be at home, so that'll be hard. And Velatron in the chat. Nathan, do you play
Tempting.
Do you play with or like the Fellwater Troggoths?
I do like them a lot, but they're not on my list. The problem with that book is there's too many lack of things.
There is too many lack of things. As Rank says, accounting for the meta would require reading, and Destruction players can't read.
Sod that.
Picture book.
Yeah.
We did actually talk about this weekend. This one game might be producing an entire range of pop-up books for Destruction players.
Oh yeah, cool.
Yeah, just real easy. Okay.
No, but actually, it's a list based on what? Because when the Gloomspite book came out, it's a list that you were talking about. Pretty much blocks of goblins. So, and I've always played with blocks of goblins.
You have.
And so I'm going to have mob blocks of goblins. So the Scout Mob Horde is 3 blocks of goblins. So I've got 3 of them, a 60 and 2 20s in the Scout Mob. They have to take fanatics. So I've got 2 of the Loon Smasher fanatics in 5s. And 5 Spore Splatters. Then Sneaky Snufflers because they help the
60.
The gobbos, yeah. Oh, and the 20s.
Yeah.
The 20s become quite good. And then, so just buffing them. The loon boss is there with the clammy hand to really take advantage of the...
So the clammy hand is an artifact?
Yeah.
And what does the clammy hand do?
So it lets you roll the 2 dice when you roll to see when you bring gets back on your shrine.
Out of the shrine. And Skulk Mob Horde does...
Brings back a unit. Once per battle, you can bring back a unit at full strength.
So that 60 goblins, basically, or grots, sorry. That 60 grots can get murdered. And then you've got 2, because normally out of the Loon Shrine, you can roll 4 pluses, bring the whole squad back, or half squad, but then Skulk Mob, it's going to be double. And then you've got 2 chances to roll it, so pretty reliable, right?
Yeah, so I've had a couple of practice... Oh, I've had 2 practice games with it. Yeah. The first game I played against Khorne. And so he left all of his bloodthirsters exposed and gave me first turn. So I just rammed the 60 grots into all the bloodthirsters and Scarbrand with 5 fanatics. Took them all down to like 2 wounds each. And then they killed all of the 60 goblins. Then I rolled and then all the 60 goblins were back.
Well, it's not, they didn't come back. You grabbed a new group of grots out the ground, and you're like, "Come on, boys, let's go, bloody get him!"
And then all these bloodthirsters were just like sort of limped towards me, and then that 60 went over there and finished them off. So it was great.
Oh, that's amazing. So 60, 20, 20, like you said, 2 lots.
Yeah,
there's a Ragnarok. What else is there?
With the with an Arachna Cauldron to summon. I've got the Geminids of Ulgush.
You have... I've been waiting for this. I've been sat here all day waiting for this. You've got the Geminids of Ulgush in your army.
Yeah.
Why?
Because they're motherfuckers. They're horrible. They are horrible. So I played... The other practicer game I played was against the Big War.
Yeah.
Will Barton and his Big War.
Nice guy.
And so, he was like, "Oh, that's great. These art boys can all hit on 2." So I thought I'd show him how they used to hit on 4s.
Was that worse?
Yeah. And then some of them were hitting on 5s. And then suddenly he lost all of his war points. So then they were hitting on 6s. So it was sad. For them.
Did you beat that? The Iron Jaws?
It was great. Well, so the big 60 was all spread out and got multi-charged by loads of stuff. But I put all the buffs on them. Or maybe I charged. Yeah, I think I charged them. But it was spread out. So they engaged like 3 units of Ard Boys and some Gore Grunters, maybe? No, they engaged 3 units of Ard Boys. And in one of the fights, there were like 4 netters and maybe 5 grots fighting against 10 hard boys, and they just wiped them out.
Oh my god! Hey, can't have a TV, Darren. You are an angel, and I love you loads. So I'm super excited. You got Skulk as well.
Yeah.
Malevolent Moon.
No Malevolent Moon. I haven't managed to fit that in. I stuck the Racer Swords in.
You stuck the Racer Swords in. I have a question for you. You've got some other characters. You've got the Arachna Cauldron.
Yeah.
And you've got another character.
Yeah, I've got another loon boss.
This is my favourite bit. What artifact does he have?
He's got the thermal rider cloak.
Why have you got the thermal riding
So he
cloak on
can
him?
fly and go really fast.
I can't wait. You were like, look how many wounds has a loon boss got?
5?
Has he?
5 wounds. Yeah, they've gone up in wounds.
And how many saves? What's his save? 6 up?
No, I think he's got 5 up save.
Oh, okay. Amazing. So you're playing this weekend of Blood and Glory with that army?
Yeah. That's great. He flies. He flew straight down the throats of those bloodthirsters.
And did he fight them?
Scared the fuck out of them.
Oh my god, it's a flying moon! What am I going to do?
Scared them. They were scared. Scarbrand died.
To the loon boss?
No, he died.
Of fear?
He died to last 2 wounds. Grot bows.
That's the most upsetting thing.
I killed 2 bloodthirsters, like finished them off with grot bows and arrows. It was like the best ever.
The best
and
ever.
They were not very happy.
Oh, I am absolutely jealous that you're going to play Warhammer this weekend. I'm not coming with you. I won't lie. Okay, well that's really fun. Is there any armies like you're looking forward to playing? Like, you know, because I rarely get to ask you this. So, is there anything you want to see on the tabletop? I know you're playing a lot at the minute, just like in your free time. But is there anything you're interested in seeing on the table?
There's a few armies I've not ever played against. I've not played against the new Fire Slayers, so it'd be cool to have a game against them, see what they do.
I disagree that would be cool. But yeah, no, I hear what you're saying. Yeah.
That would be good. I mean, I did watch that game of Collins, actually, so I've seen a bit of what they do, but it'd be just nice to play against them.
Yeah, we've had a question in, Canhammer, I won't laugh too hard, sorry, I'll be careful of my heart. Warhammer Rob asks, Nathan, how much depravity is in your army? Not a lot of depravity points.
The Spider's got 13. I've got 2 loon bosses, so there's another 4 each on them. I've got a Fungoid Cave Shaman, so he's got 3. And then I've got a Madcap Shaman who's got the Moonface Mommet. And he's got 3 as well.
Oh, what does the Moonface Mommet do?
So it's a curse that you do at the start of the combat phase. You can curse a unit, and then they lose, their save is decreased by 1. So basically giving the Grots rend.
Wowee. Okay. Lee Bromley's taking the Legion of Asgore. So get ready if you play him.
I don't want to play.
All right. So I'm very excited about that. Well, I'm looking forward to it. And if you are going to Blood and Glory, please just take as many pictures of Nathan as possible. Like filming, playing games. If you can see the flying loon boss, you're going to give him a little cape? You're going to put a little cape on him? Have you got time?
No. I've got 2 loon bosses, one with a red hood and one with a yellow hood. So it'd be one of those guys.
Okay.
Maybe the red hood.
Yeah, the red hood seems that's faster, right? Yeah.
Superman. Super Grot.
Okay, I like how everyone is. Thank you, by the way, everyone, for joining us. Love you loads. Happy you're here. I like how everyone is just listening to me fangirl about the fact you're playing Warhammer at the weekend. So we'll move on. But that's cool. I hope you have a great time. Yeah. Looking forward to hearing on Monday next week if it was great fun.
Yeah.
So good luck.
Thank you.
And please also smash everyone to pieces with grots. With grots. Yeah, 60 grots, because I love every story that you make when you're just like, well, then I killed all the bloodthirsters with bows. Right.
It's the best way to finish them off, because he used the blood tithe thing to make them all so that they killed stuff when they get to fight when they die. So I shot them.
That's just not very fair, is it? All right, good. Well,
they're really good. Corner, that is a scary army.
So people keep telling me this. I was having a chat with AD Mack at the weekend, and he was saying, now, my personal experience and some of the games we've seen of them have been a bit lackluster. Their performance generally is fairly lackluster as well. Like,
I'm surprised at that, because when you actually put them on the table, it's like, wow.
But
if you had played properly, I would have been in trouble.
I mean, all offence meant there, Will.
No, that wasn't Will. That was Luke.
Oh, it was Luke.
Yeah, he sucks.
Yeah,
all offence meant.
And he keeps dying to giants.
I mean all of the offence. Any offence you have, I meant it.
I think the interesting point about Khorne is that I think it's it's a combat army, right? Like it's not anything else. And apart from it's got the best casters in the game, maybe in those blood priests.
Yeah, it's
It's
got
slaughter
ranged output as
It
well.
has, yeah, absolutely has. But can it compete against the other combats is the issue. Like yours is also this weekend. Your army is a combat army as well. It's got some shooting. It's got some ranged threats definitely from the spells. But you're asking yourself, can it compete with the other fighting? And the issue is that its summoning mechanic isn't the same as Slaanesh's. Like I think it loses to Skaven quite a lot, in my opinion. Because they've only got those 4-up saves, right? And those bloodthirsters aren't as fast as you'll find the Slaanesh characters called Kings on Terrorgeist are faster and more survivable. They've got a lot more healing, and also those bloodthirsters don't have access to healing, so they don't have a lot of late game attrition.
I think one of the blood tithe things is a heal thing,
Yeah,
but
it
it's
is.
only one. But yeah, they do have that. But they have got that access to that 6-inch pylon thing, which is a bubble and aura thing. That's great.
Yeah, no, that
Really,
is
really
good. That's good. People have been using that quite a bit. Anyway, there's a list there, but I just think it's harder than some of the other answers out there. And I don't know. I'm always impressed by slaughter priests. I don't know why. Maybe you wouldn't just rock 6.
Yeah, the slaughter priests were really good. I mean, yeah, after turn 2, that's all you had, so they were quite good.
So it's interesting, and if anyone's out there with what they think is quite a unique corner list, I'm glad the stats show is back as well, because I'll be doing tomorrow. Because what's really cool about that is you start seeing all those off-meta picks from around the world. So I think that segues quite nicely actually into the conversation about Blood Tithe at the weekend. Because there was an off-meta army. Like I'll talk about the Blood Tithe event generally, but next. But the first thing I'm going to talk about is Terradan.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, Danger Mouse. So this weekend we saw a Seraphon army go, unfortunately 4-1. So it took a minor loss, not a major loss. So 4 major victories and a minor loss. Although it was a bit odd the way that worked, because it was a handshake for the Seraphon of 1. So we put a video up at that moment, and there's some exaltation, and that's a pretty big performance as well. Haven't seen that since Adepticon by Sam Gould. So Seraphon really not performing at the moment, and I think very much due a new book. So we're all excited, and it's a super bloodshed, not blood tithe, sorry, bloodshed this weekend. Thank you, Elove. It's a super off-meta list. It had a unit of 12 Pterodons in the Shadow Strike, and then another unit of 9 Pterodons in the Shadow Strike. And we saw it play on the stream as well. Really exciting, super cool. Pterodons though, and very much again, big shout out to the stat show, so it all links in. Last year we saw a Polish event, a unit of an army of 12 Pterodons do super well. And then at Blood Tithe we saw Giannis with his 12 Pterodons in the Shadow Strike. So it's become a thing over time, and it was fun watching it. And those off-meta picks, those absolutely left field army builds are just radical fun. Really interesting. So that was cool. Okay, so talking about Bloodshed, because we did coverage this weekend, so that's some of the news. There are other events, but again, we'll be covering those tomorrow in the stat show.
Cool.
We did some coverage. It was super great. I had an amazing team this weekend. I need to say a massive thank you to those guys. Simon Speckles, probably the best table boss we've ever had. Just amazing.
Wow, cool.
Just really, really good. Really took to it and then James Powell was helping with the commentary. Speckles and them swapped at one point. It was fun. And then I managed to get Carl on to do some commentary with me game 5. So I got someone else to try out some commentary, which was really fun as well. So it was in a private school, an all girls private school. Right, but you saw the pictures of the venue, right?
I saw a few, yeah.
Yeah, crazy pretty, and it was really atmospheric as well. The guys had all bought mats. The guys, they bought all professional mats. They'd had a terrain guy, and he literally did every table. And they paid for all of the terrain, so every single table had matching terrain, which this guy had done. So it felt super cohesive as an event. Everything just seemed to make sense. So that was really good as well. So the venue was fantastic, in my opinion. The terrain was great. The boards were great. Organisation was done by Steve. That was fab as well. Dan was kind of playing host and was doing a great job doing that. There was a little issue with they had a little pizza oven. So some really nice pizzas were coming out, but unfortunately, you know what it's like at the end of a round. Just everyone floods and couldn't really keep up. But then Dan did a really good job of walking around with pizzas, offering them out after. So generally, I think a great event, and I don't think it'll expand any further than that, because really that hall is just a really great like environment to play Warhammer in. So I think it's going to stay pretty much where it is, because there was 80 people or so there, but it was just an amazing event. I think like really good, like, and nice to have another like quality event on the calendar.
Yeah.
I think, the guys obviously, like, they took all that feedback. They were like, yeah, okay, we'll sort food next year. The tables terrain, that was all great. So I think the guys deserve like a big round of applause, especially it's their first event.
Yeah.
That was really
Sounds
quite impressive.
great.
It was really good. Like, and they super took care of us as well. So I want to say a big thank you to all the people who are helping organise, but also thank you to specifically Steve and Dan. They did loads of work to help us out, so appreciated. And I just loved the weekend. It was just a great like set of games. Like, we had really fun. We got Laurie and Miles on playing Skaven versus Sylvaneth. So that was real cool. And then the big takeaway from the weekend has got to be, we obviously saw Taradan play on the stream. That was really exciting, seeing that. And then eventually we got to see Mr. Leo Ratunen, who did you listen to his? I did a recording with him about the new Iron Jaws.
Yeah, I've heard. I don't think I've heard all of it, but I've heard a good chunk of it. Yeah.
So definitely like went into, like, book came out and already Leo podiumed this year with an Iron Jaws army anyway.
Yeah.
But went into this event with some some gusto, I think, and then ended up taking the event out, which I think is really exciting with Iron Jaws. Are you happy about that?
Yeah. They're great. Yeah, that's good. But I mean, we saw them the weekend before at Liverpool do really well, and I think we're going to see them.
Yeah, so like going into round 4, there was a lot of them. It was only the Fire Slayers that were really kicking them back in some situations. Because we saw Jack's Fire Slayers go 5-0 as well. We also saw James's Morgan list. So a Flesh Eater Courts army, just with a bunch of ghouls doing the rerolls. Like when we did the FEC show, and I said, just why doesn't someone take loads of ghouls and put D3 attacks on them? So James did that eventually, and that's been done now. And so he was just like robbed, but almost lost to Taradan. Very, very close. And you can't really predict someone bringing 21 Pterodons, right? It's just Cities of Sigmar. I don't know. We'll find out tomorrow in the stat show how they did particularly. It was great. It was a great event. Really well organised. Like, just sweet. Like, what's the word? Like, yeah, just sweet. Just cool, and I'm very excited about the one next year. It was pretty rad. The crew were great, so I think I've done everything. There were paper towels in the toilets. Always means that you're at a fancy venue, I think, because you can afford to like waste
Did
the
they
paper.
have like a sensor dispenser on them?
No, they didn't have that automatic one as well. Where was it? That was the one that
That
Justice
was
Series,
Liverpool,
Liverpool, where they just had it it just popped out. That one was bonkers. That was really good. Cool event. And I was very much I would like to go and play Warhammer there myself personally. I was a little bit annoyed. Oh, we also got some cool stuff happened. We tried out our brand new objective markers. So if you guys can if you guys can see on the screen, I've just wrecked Nathan's camera, so that might never work again. But if you would look on my screen for a moment, you see these. Like, these are lovely. Canhammer objective markers, right? But they're 6 inches from the center, so they're 12 inches in diameter. But they're made of like the mouse mat material that all the battle mats are made of. However, they're just really unimmersive. There we go. I don't think you'd want to play with 8 of those on a board, would you?
I don't mind. Yeah.
Would you?
Yeah, I don't mind.
Well, what does the Twitch chat think? Like, what with the logo on?
I don't mind if it's got a logo on.
Oh, come on. Yeah. I personally think that these ones with the logos on, I think they're super unimmersive on the tabletop.
Yeah.
We tried out something new this weekend. We tried these. So James and Scrivo, who was there this weekend as well, and like smashed it on the camera. Like, he was like, there was this amazing scene because Tom Parry was playing, right, and he had a Stormcast army. There's this amazing shot where like he just had some mortal wounds done to him via some Giselles, and then all of a sudden another shot came in, took him off, and Scrivo just like flew the camera over, and then Speckles in my ears, a great team was like, oh, there's 2 wounds, and you saw it like took off, and you're like, ah! Like, it was just great. It was like, it just worked really, really well. So Scrivo is just fantastic. Anyway, but we got some imagine see-through it's called. Oh no, James told me
transparent.
what it's called. Anyway, so it's see-through plastic of some description, effectively, so that you could measure to it, but it didn't really affect your immersion. Eventually, we're going to have actually designed. So we're going to have so you're going to pick a board, and then we're going to design a bunch of mats like the board, and then that makes sense. It will fit onto the mat.
And disappear, and then you won't know where they
No,
are.
because there was going to be a pot of gold in the middle and stuff. But effectively, transparent, that's the word. Oh my God, I'm definitely knackered. I can't even talk. Anyway, but it worked really well, not only for the coverage, but I spoke to the players who were playing on it, and I was like, what do you think of this? And they were like, it's so good. I knew how far I needed to run my characters. I don't have to measure from a point to a point and then run. It was they were all there's a great shot of Laurie. He just deep strikes, does a charge, and just kind of creates a circle around the ring. Also, really useful for just creating that kind of you can literally base block them ever being able to get onto it, and you know where that is.
Yeah.
Translucent, or also another great word. There's some, and also there's some versions Ricky from Dimensional Cascade. He does pre-marked battle mats on Etsy, so if you want to go check those out. But those are our solution because I think they're quite useful. And we tried them out this weekend, and that worked great. And again, it's these. I know you guys are excited about talking about Bonereapers, but for me as a commentator who's done this now for nearly 4 years. Nearly, I don't know, 3.5 years. That actually was one of the biggest impacts. I could see where the objective were.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, he hasn't made it onto the objective. It was huge. And also for the people watching, I'm hoping that was really good as well. But the players told me, and I now want them for my games because they were I don't know. I know it seems really obvious me just saying it, but it has a bigger effect than you possibly would think when you actually get there. I know, it's pretty cool. Yeah. So are you gonna? Kadrian said they work great. Are you gonna get would you get them if we got the perspex ones?
Yeah. If they were available, they look great.
And the issue is cost. Is that's what we're trying to resolve because we can make it for the stream games for the tables, which would be great. Because we can obviously pay for them and they'll look really fancy and that's nice. But what we're trying to do is create a solution for everyone else to play with. Because I think they're so good, we want something that works for so people can buy them.
Yeah.
I'm not looking to make any money off it really, just looking to create a really good solution. Because the tokens sometimes can move around. Anyway, I think that's really good.
Yeah.
Thanks, Ange. And we also created, and also another big shout out to James. He 3D printed some imagine little egg cups, but not quite like that. But a little cup to sit the 32 the characters in on the stream.
Okay.
So and that's big shout out to Richie from Just Play because he's got some from Malifaux potentially, or from Blood Bowl. But basically we would put all the characters inside these little egg cups, and then you could see them from the top down camera, or when you were scanning through an army you'd be like, oh, there's a little Grot Shaman, etc. So we might finally stream a Fire Slayer game again because we might be able to pick out where they are in a just so much easier.
Yeah.
So much easier. Are you putting getting the flags? It's a British thing to travel around, put down your flags. Yeah, we were also talking about how cool would this be? Printing little 3D flags. 3D printing some flags, right? And then basically, you know how we had the objective source lighting system before?
Yeah.
That's great. But I think it kind of gets in the way of models and some other little issues. So I thought what would be cool is just have some red and blue flags. So when one team takes the objective, you just plant the little flag on the... Maybe that's just the British person in me. Loves conquering land and placing a flag. Anyway, great weekend. And there was some amazing people there. Owen Jackson was there. Benjamin Sam was there. There was too many people to mention. I saw Gitchy. That's what I call him now. Richie from Just Plays now. Gitchy, because he plays playing with Gits. I thought that's fun.
How did he do?
Did really well, but he lost to Terradan. Yeah, he lost to Terradan. That was a tough matchup, but and we did that. That was on the stream, so you can watch that.
Oh,
so that's
I'll
cool.
have to go and watch that one.
Yeah, it was a really fun game. Really, really fun.
So them grots don't stand up to pterodactyls, eh?
No, But, I mean, it was very, very close. It was super close. But again, like if you don't know how to, Shadow Strike's a really hard army to deal with as well.
Yeah.
Like
That's one that teleports into combat virtually, doesn't it?
yeah. Yeah, and all the South London Legion guys were there. All the Scrabs at War guys were there. There was Wanderers 10 fella there. All the Tungsten Tyrant guys were there. There was just a bunch of great dudes. So it was a wicked event. So that's my review. My wicked is my review.
Wicked in the castle, innit?
Yeah, wicked in a castle. So you should go check that out. What's next? News. You got any news? I've got more, but I wondered if you had any.
No. I also played a squiggle launch.
What, you played against one?
I played with one.
Oh my god, this actually might be the army that I want to take.
It was really good fun.
Is it fun?
Yeah, but I don't have 2 manglers, so I took a colossal, and so he wasn't in the squiggle launch, but he was watching the squiggle launch and participating as much as good. It was a good fun game. So
did it work out? What were you playing and how did it go?
I played against Beasts of Chaos, so no, I ran out of steam about halfway through. The moon didn't help me either. It didn't stay. It came on into my quarter. Then I needed it to cover the whole board so I could get the 6-inch pylons, but it decided no, it was out of there, and it went. I rolled the 6, and it boom
all the way.
Yeah,
wow.
Just popped off into the far corner where we weren't fighting, and then gone.
So, do you know what army I think would be amazing fun? Because I was talking to James Powell, who was helping me with the conversation this weekend. 4 Flamespire Phoenixes. It's not good. Because I was wondering what armies take over to Northern Ireland, right?
Yeah.
And it's. I don't think it's competitive. I think it's okay. Like Flamespire Phoenix, if you don't take the Anointed of Assyrian, I don't know why you wouldn't, but at 200 points. But if you took the Anointed of Assyrian, like they're loads better. But I just love the idea of like you've got 4 models that die. You roll those 4 pluses, they're coming back.
Just like Gits.
Exactly, just like Gits. Like, I just think that would just be like just rad, right?
Yeah.
So I don't know. I was just looking at that, just talking about fun lists because I think Squiggle Lanch is really fun because you know as little as your opponent does about where you're going.
It's great. They hit hard. It's a great army, really good. And if you can get the moon buffs on them, so they got that 6-inch pylon. You can dance,
You could launch the squigs.
You could launch them right down people's throats. They're great. It's really, it's quite competitive. Actually.
Fireborn Minis, thank you so much for donating 2,000 bits to the show. That's really lovely of you. Thank you very much. That's Steve, who ran the Bloodshed Shire event this weekend. He just put massive thank you for the weekend, my man. Have some bits. Oh, wow. Well, that's very nice. That's very nice. Steve was brilliant over the weekend, so that means the world to us. Thank you. What a nice man. What a nice man. Yeah. I was just staying in his house. It's lovely.
Oh, yeah?
Oh, lovely. Lovely place. It was in Marlow Bottom.
Yeah.
Could not laugh at that.
That's great, Marlow Bottom. I used to live in Micklefield.
You used to live in Micklefield?
Which is not far, which is part of High Wycombe.
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
Oh, nice. So do you know the school we're talking about?
No, we didn't go to that school. Yeah, I know. I think I know it. I think it's the one up at the top of the hill.
Yeah, nailed it.
Yeah.
So the review hasn't started, don't worry. So just there's some more news pieces to get through as well.
Yeah.
A couple of bits. First off, obviously last week caused. I've been having a cheeky old time on Twitter recently, and last week I did talk about banning Slanesh from tournaments, and TOs really nicely, and always great for starting a conversation. Warhammer Weekly. So Vince Ventrella, who is a huge Slanesh fan and has been for a long time. Great dude, one of my hobby heroes, as is Tom, responded to that comment, and you go watch that on their most recent Warhammer Weekly video. It's about 47 minutes in. So that was really good. And Vince talked about shelving Slanesh. So not banning Slanesh, but players themselves like self-comping. And Tom mentioned, it's very much like what we saw with Daughters of Cain players, like reducing their impact in the game as well. So I think that's really nice if you want to listen to both those two conversations. He did say that I was a Warhammer terrorist, which I loved. Yeah, and in no way am I upset about that. I'm not. See you later, Steve. Thank you. I I loved that because he was just like, yeah. Apparently, it's quite long because I think what he's trying to do is be quite sweet to me, but he effectively calls me a terrorist, which was great. I was like, all right, fuck yeah, that's really fun. But I just want to say, talking about that talking about that last week, and anything that I might post, like for instance, I did a quick 2-shot review of the two new battle tomes on Saturday, which also has caused some pushback as well. So big shout out to Pete Scully and to 2 Plus Tough for like responding to those as well, as and a bunch of other people. Like obviously Twitter is not like the medium to review battle tome in that
to
regard.
have a meaningful conversation.
Nor is it to have a meaningful conversation. And I do host a show at least once a week. That's not including other shows like I do with Darren, other interviews that I do, and not including the live coverage I do, which I've done tons of now this year. Like there's a lot of ongoing conversation in those. But I am super happy for people to like respond to those, and I never don't want people. I want people to always think that they can challenge and push back on those ideas. Like, and I'm really happy to be wrong in loads of different cases. Yeah, unless me and Nathan are talking, in which case I need to be right. Yeah, because fuck you, right? Like, I want you to know that I'm more than welcome for people to make like responses and have conversations because we're a big community together. Yeah, I'm not right. I love starting a conversation. I love being involved in a conversation. Yeah, I've got a lot of experience to bring with it. I do this for my day job, Monday through to Sunday. I work every day. So I'm super invested and I'm super happy and I love the game. But it's worth like, so if you ever want to, I just want people to know. That's why Nathan's on the show, right? We don't agree tons, right? Tons and tons. Me and Speckles definitely don't agree. Yeah, that's a fact. Yeah, me and Darren don't agree. Me and the 40k guys don't agree. Commentators who I have on, I've never told a commentator they can't say what they think, right? Like just have your own opinion. I had Ian on from the Just Play, right, doing commentary, and that man's never gonna listen to anyone. Yeah, well, I think he will listen to people. That's not fair. That's not fair at all. He'll super listen to people, but he'll tell you what his opinion is. And you're hearing it. Yeah, so always. Speckle says Nathan can never be wrong. All hail the Flying Grotsman. So yeah, like if ever I post something up and you're not a fan of it or you don't agree, then drop me a message. You can DM me on Twitter or you can talk to me about it. I only ever have conversations, and I think I bring experience to the conversation, or I read a bunch before I make a point. So it's not like they don't come from nowhere. For instance, the conversation about Sinesh being banned. So I was super fortunate, and I knew that Games Workshop held a private event the day. So last Monday, so the weekend before, they held a private event in-house, and they filmed all the games where Sinesh were banned to play at that event. So Games Workshop themselves, before I ever said anything on Monday, have already banned their own army playing at their own filmed event. Yeah, so you'll see what that in the future. But I wasn't letting that kind of hypocrisy escape. So I pushed back on it, right? So like, feel free to message me, talk to me. And I just want people to know that, right? Like, it comes from a place of love, but like, I'm super into. Like, I talked to Mick Wendell today. Couldn't be a bigger fan of Gutbusters. Yeah, apart from maybe Doom and Darkness. And I was just like, Mick, tell me what you actually think of the book. He's like, yeah. It's not like Skaven. It's not Flesh Eater Courts. It's strong, though. Yeah, he's like, it was good before. We've got a ton of allegiance abilities. We hit on 3s now. He's like, big deal.
That's really good. I think in Destruction, anything where they give them that 3s to hit. I mean, it's a big part of why I think Iron Jaws was that much better. They just got those pluses to hit.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Right.
I think the fact that ogres, that's news to me. I've not looked at anything, but if ogres are hitting on 3s now, and they've got access to pluses to hit, that's quite scary.
Exactly, right? Like, that was their biggest downfall before, right? Those 4. So already, like, the joke is obviously deadly as ever, but it's when you compare them. Like, so you can read the book and you'd be like, this is quite cool. And I would actually say that the Moore's book, and again, this is without fine detail research, so this is top level and could be wrong. And I'll say next week if I am. The Jaws book, the Mortri's book, sits with Sylvaneth and Gitz, although I still think Gitz is super, super strong. It sits in that kind of like that tier of just like, and it's quite clear the disparity between the Bonereapers book and the Mortri's book. Like, they're just very different. Like the power levels are just nowhere near. Like the ogre tyrant, you look at the ogre tyrant, and you think, all right, he's an ogre tyrant. And he's not a monster, right? But he's big, he's massive. Then you look at Katakros when we talk about him. Nathan, he's fucking mental. I mean, he's 500 points as well, but he's also mental. Like, so sometimes there's not.
Is that the dude on the base with loads of?
Yeah.
Loads of. So he's like a small detachment of dudes on his.
Yeah, yeah. The boss battle, the boss battle base.
I want to fight the guy with the scroll. The rest of you can just wait.
Yeah, and also if you compare him to the Iron Jaws, that's another good point as well, Andrew Wells. So everything, like the army's got a 4+ save basically. Iron Jaws part in the book. There's double damage. You're just like, that's double damage. Then you compare it to the Cities book, and it's just like you've got some executioners who lost their mortal wounds. You had had the Dwarden who just lost their like ignoring spells. Yeah, they got dispelling spells as well, but like you compare hammers, which I know are great, but if you compare them to like I don't think they stand up in comparison, right? In some time,
hammers have got the executioners rule, so it's great. We're okay, Mas. They're happy.
Par UK says it's the best tier. I agree. No, I think there is. I think there's cities also. By the way, I'd put in the Sylvaneth tier, and I would put inside the More Tribes tier. And it's definitely, you can see that different writers are doing those two different books because there's no parity. Donal was doing some really good reviews of like the command abilities that you're seeing from the More Tribes compared to the Ossiarch Bonereapers. So it's too big for us to do in this show. So this show, obviously, we're going to do Bonereapers, and next show we'll do More Tribes. Then maybe we'll have a conversation after, and then it might be fun to go back and look at the parity difference also between cities and Orc Warclans. But either way, like man, like the More Tribes got some fucking radical models, right? Like radical models, and I'm super into them. That like More part, I'm like, just make man-eaters good, and I'll play them. That's all I want. Iron Blasters, too late. They fucked them up. But anyway, that's all I got to say on that. I think that's fair. Yeah.
Fair enough.
Yeah. Tell me I'm wrong. I'm happy to hear it, yeah, but you got to prove yourself, right? As a good example, Leo posted up that he thought Slaanesh, the new Slaanesh Battletome was, the White Dwarf article was way too strong and a bit outrageous. And someone was like, "Why don't you play it?" He's like, "No, I'm going to play something else." It was Joe. It was Joe Purcell. Did you see? He was like, "Why don't you go win some tournaments?" Then Leo, and Leo was like, "Cool, I will." And they just won the next tournament. Right. Par says he agrees with me on Cities as well, but I think Cities is a lovely book. It's a list writer's dream. It's a hobbyist dream. I think also the same of More Tribes, but I would also want the More Tribes guys and the Cities guys to put their armies on the tabletop and be able to play a game against all the other powerhouses in the game as well. Like, why are those books at a different level? But we'll see when the stats pull out, right? Like, I'm happy. We'll come back to this in 6 months' time, yeah, and if I'm wrong, cool. I'll howl my hands up happily because this is all I'm here for. Like, I think I give seasoned review, but I'm definitely never going to be right. Although I did make you take Geminids, so fucking whatever. Fucking whatever. Lava ass, but how will the More Tribes book taste? To be fair, that's the real question. Are you going to eat it, or is it a pop-up version?
Yeah. Popcorn version.
Right, so let's talk. Ready for Ossiarch Bonereapers? Everyone in the Twitch chat. How's everyone feel about what I just said? Comfortable? Happy? Yeah, seems fine. Yeah. But I'd love to know if anyone's got any different feelings.
Well, we'll see when we go through it. But yeah,
no, I meant about like when I make statements online.
Oh
yeah. I also think because the difficult part is because the Honest Wargamer set itself up on purpose, right? Like we set ourselves up as we are only going to do honest reviews. Yeah, our opinions. We won't agree. Other people won't agree with us. That's fine. But we'll give it like it's not based on just a feeling. It's based on like research, information, experience. And then if we're wrong, cool, we're wrong. Yeah, but I think that like that's our USP. We don't get stuff for free. We're not like interested in that. Like, you know, like just Steve just donated a bunch of cash. Like it was lovely of him, and I was just like, the food could be better. Like, and he was like, yeah, no problem. And noted. Like it's good. You get better if you just criticize each other. Not criticize, constructively feedback. Is that right? What do you do on the building site when something's wonky?
Turn your head to the side.
Right. Okay.
Or else you straighten it.
Oh. Fantastic guy says, Nathan, you sound beautiful. Mrs. Fantastic says, you have a nice voice like an audiobook you don't pay attention to.
Great. Sounds like my wife as well.
Yeah, it's right. Research,
ex-wife.
information, experience, and then Nathan's gut feeling. That's exactly. Right, Bone Reapers. Ossiarch Bonereapers. So, Nathan, narrative to catch you up. So, they're an army created by Nagash because he was obviously super fucked off. Sigmar broke the deal about the souls. Sigmar was meant to give him a bunch of souls. Then Sigmar stole the souls to create the Stormcast Eternals. Because it was like a pact. It was like, we'll be allies. I get all the souls. You get, I don't know what Sigmar wants.
And then Nagash fucked off. So then Sigmar was like, well, that's fine. Then I can do what I want.
Yeah, exactly, right? Two sides for every story.
Exactly.
Yeah, exactly. So then that's what started Soul Wars, right?
Yeah.
Then in the background, but then there's souls as a resource, but there's also bones, right? So then what he did was he started to basically create necromancy, but more, well, not even that really, effectively just started making creatures out of bone and started to create a factory and these other things. So it's kind of like a mechanized bone force, very tyranny, effectively. And some of the souls of different, so one of the constructs might have thousands or hundreds or dozens of souls inside it. So it's not piloted by one soul, and they're pretty much automatons, apart from the characters who are a pretty big deal. And effectively they do this thing called the tithe. So what happens is they'll go to a city and they'll be like, we want your bones. And then, because they have
new bones for old.
Yeah, new bones. No. So they're like, give us your bones. So they take a tithe, and sometimes they'll go away, and sometimes the tithe's not enough, so they'll raise the city, or someone will say no, so they'll raise the city. So it's an army. So effectively what he's doing is just trying to create as much of this resource as possible. So he's using humans and animals as breeding stock for more bones, because obviously their army's eternal, right? Yeah. So just they keep going. So that's the story, effectively. And then so now they're out there. So they are literally a new created army because he's just made them. Right, yeah. Okay, the OBR. Professor Xavier says OBR rules are insane. I think so. I've done some lists and they are pricey, but they're interesting as well. Right, battle traits. So the first one is ranks unbroken by descent.
Okay.
So they are immune to battle shock army wide.
Wow.
So you have to do all the reacting in this situation. So what do you think of that?
That's super strong. Wow. Not even just bravery 10, just immune to battle shock.
Everything immune to battle shock. End of.
Okay. Well, they better be expensive. Don't know.
Yeah, so that's huge, right?
Super strong. Yeah.
What's really interesting, a lot of people said that the battle shock phase in Age of Sigmar doesn't really exist anymore anyway.
Yeah, it is. I mean, there's loads of armies that have got immune to battle shock. Accessibility to it, but normally you have to jump through hoops, you have to stand by a rock, or you have to go and do something.
Yeah.
So,
or
just having that.
For instance, in more tribes, as an example, the tyrant can punch a unit of lads. They take D3 mortal wounds, but then they are at that point
immune to battle shock.
For the rest of the battle as well, not just that turn.
But it costs a command point.
It does cost a command point, right? But in some situations, we've seen reactive battle shock, but because that's CP. But CP now, if you go back and watch that last game between Leo and Seb, by the way, Seb, lovely fella, you go watch those two play that final game. Right at the start of the game, me and Carl were talking about how command points were like resource. It was really important, especially because they were playing in the realms, and there was always strikes first available in that game. So the CP was a big deal,
right?
So it really came into effect. And then Callus says bravery debuff has never been an actual build anyway, which I would agree with, apart from flayers who do some shoot. We've seen that sometimes in Blisterkin builds, and also the Legion. Benjamin Savage did pretty well with the Legion of Grief, which relied a lot on also bravery
debuffing and screaming at people.
Yeah,
so
I've
had that happen to me. It's pretty.
Colonel Cab says, I wish the battle shock phase wasn't a thing. I regularly lose shitloads of bestigors to battle shock. Right, so talking about command points. Instead of command points, they have this thing called relentless discipline points.
So do they get command points as well?
No. There are no command abilities, if you know what I mean.
Okay. Well, can they use like general ones, like generic ones, like the
Yeah, I think
the 6 and all
I haven't
that?
read it. I this is me like grabbing information from a man who reads book.
Okay.
So also, if anyone happens to have while we're live the command traits and the artifacts and can send them to me, that'd be great. So if anyone's listening right now, they're the only things I don't have access to. Instead, you generate relentless discipline points. So each Ossiarch Bonereapers hero generates your point. This is every turn.
So this is like war points. for the
Yeah,
big
effectively. Each warscroll battalion generates your point. Each friendly liege generates your point, and Katakros generates you 3. And then you roll a dice for each unit with the Hekatos keyword, and on a 6 you get 1 as well. Now you can't keep those relentless discipline points from one turn to the next. So if you generate them all in a turn, you should use them all in the turn.
Just use them all. Okay.
Use them all, which is quite cool because if you do take out those characters, I like that mechanic. Like, and it's new, and we haven't seen that before. I like that mechanic because if you do take out the characters, they lose access to all their abilities to do things. Oh my God, Zerak, let's date. Zerak sorted me out. We're sorted. We got it. And also, the album's called Bone Daddies, so I'm super happy about that. Thank you so much. And Professor Xavier's made a good point. Seems like we're moving away from CP specific for faction resources. So we've got the big war, and that obviously uses war points.
Yeah. But they do rely on CPs as well to do stuff as well.
Yeah,
So,
it reminds me a lot of. I'm not just Pete Pratt. I'm not saying just kill the heroes. I'm not. What I'm saying is a death army. Because like traditionally, I always think of a death army relying on those heroes so much to keep the undead army alive.
Yeah, if you're ever fighting them, just kill the heroes. Definitely.
Just kill them. Hashtag just kill the heroes.
Yeah.
All day
And
long.
if you kill the rest of the stuff, it helps as well. So yeah, just kill everything.
Yeah. Wait, is that advice?
Yeah.
Yeah.
If you want to win games and you kill everything, it makes it easier.
It does. I'd also.
I remember the first time we had a like when we were playing Age of Sigmar right at the beginning.
You and me.
No. Like in general,
everyone generally.
Yeah. And I'd played against Pink Rob's Death, and I was like, Bravery 10 is so good.
So
Yeah.
it was
Yeah.
at that point. Yeah.
And I put a thing on Twitter or something like, Bravery 10 is that good. Things with Bravery 10, people should pay points for it. And then I think it was Brian Carmichael just tweeted back, Bravery 10 is useless if you kill all of them. And I was like, yes, but that's everything. If you kill everything, then yes, the game becomes a lot easier.
He's got a point. If you kill everything,
Yeah.
maybe that's been the issue. When we've been talking about some of these problem armies at the minute, we should have just been focusing on killing everything, not just the heroes.
Yeah.
We're not very good
We're
at this.
doing it wrong.
Yeah, next time when you tune in, there'll just be a video player just saying, just kill everything.
Kill everything.
It's much easier. Ben's Danglord says, I do have that spell, the remover model, if you roll higher than their wound, so you can neuter the captains quite easy. So we'll get to that in a minute. But the captains inside units have their own command abilities. Each war scroll has its own command ability. We'll talk about that in a bit.
What?
Yeah,
Okay.
I know, right?
What you mean?
Relentless discipline points,
Okay.
command points, right?
Yeah.
Anyway,
Abilities.
yeah. So they've got Deathless Warriors, 6-up death save, classic, and then they've got Unstoppable Advance, which is a command ability, so generic command ability for the army, which is in the movement phase. Pick one unit within X of a hero, and then or a Hekatos, and then plus 3-inch move, basically.
So that's for a command point, though.
Yeah.
Yeah. So there's do use.
So plus
command
3
points
inches to a
as well,
move, though.
yeah.
I mean, that's not bad because the skeletons are slow. Like the base core unit are slow, whereas the horsemen are fast. They're movement 12, so that takes them from 12 to 15. So now they're flying up the board, which is pretty decent.
Yep.
But I really want the horses to be good. I don't really think that they are, which is a bit of a shame. But anyway, but the manic character is pretty decent. So far, that's the kind of overarching. Immune to Battle Shark. They've got their own command point generation system. Looks pretty decent. What do you think about that?
Yeah, sounds good.
Yeah,
No,
okay.
3 rules, always good.
Yeah, always good. Yeah, so I think that's really strong. But I'd also like to talk about, because the guys in the chat was just saying a moment ago about moving away from command points as a thing. What I do really, really like.
Well, it sounds like command points are still a thing because that's a command ability. So you still got to use command points to do that.
Yeah, well, yeah, you use the
That
relentless
+3,
discipline points
yeah.
instead.
No, but to get the +3 move,
Yeah, you use
a command point.
no, you use the relentless discipline points instead of command points.
Oh, to do the command ability.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. So that's how their army works, right? What was the point I was going to try and make? You haven't played Total War. We have on my computer like a couple of times, but you've never played the campaign. Quite cool thing about the way that plays. And I don't overly want Games Workshop to like break all the armies up, like so they play so wildly different. What's quite cool about that, if you're playing the campaign, is each one of the armies kind of like conquers or does resources in a different way.
Yeah.
It's really interesting. So like the dwarves obviously build like great strongholds and stuff, but whereas if you're playing with Chaos, you never actually ever take over a city. You just have a giant horde that moves around the map. So and I know that that's a very different game. That's an RTS, but it's quite cool seeing maybe that they might be going down this design philosophy of, you know, if an army's got a flavour enough, they're going to change its mechanics, right? But anyway, yeah, I think that's quite cool. Okay, so there's a bunch to talk about, and I think I'd like to talk about some elements before we get on. I think we should do war scrolls first, because we've got to understand how the army works before we look at some of the buffs that you can add on top. But I'd like to talk about spell lore just as first. I think that's quite cool. So you've got Arcane Command, which is a 5 to cast. You gain D3 discipline points, relentless discipline points. So that's good. I've seen that quite a few times now, a spell that generates some command points.
Some points, yeah.
That one is fine, but like there's one particular spell I want to talk about, but we'll talk about more. So you've got Empower Nadrite Weapons, so that's what their weapons are. It's cast on a 5. You pick a Bonereapers unit wholly within 24. Until the start of your next hero phase, the units of Nadrite weapon ability explode on 5 instead of a 6. So basically, most of the infantry, if not all of it, most of the weapons in the army, they have exploding 6s. So a 6 to hit generates 2 wound rolls.
Okay.
That spell does it on 5. The Death Riders, which are the mounted cavalry, they if they use lances, they do it on 5s anyway. So that'll take it down to a 4.
Does it say that?
Yeah, it does say that. Yeah, so it takes it down to a 4, which is kind of interesting. But they've got 2 attacks base, so it's nice because you're basically going to be doubling it out.
Yeah.
And there is a way with Katakros to do +1 to hit army wide, so they're hitting more reliably. You explode the attacks. That's quite cool. Or the Mortarch Guard, when we get to them, they can just reroll stuff as well. So yeah, that's not bad. But this is the one. This is the one, in my opinion. Protection of Nagash, cast on 6, so pretty easy. So it's a 5+ DPR. If any wounds are allocated and not negated, the caster is not slain. Remove from battlefield. So if any wounds are allocated and not negated, and the caster is not slain. So you've got a caster, cast a spell, takes a couple of wounds. No, you save a couple, then you don't save a few more.
So it's the 5 up just on the dude that
caster,
casts
yeah.
the spell, yeah.
Remove them from the battlefield after all wounds have been allocated, then set them up anywhere else more than 9 inches away from enemy models, then dispel this spell.
Oh.
Right.
So you've got to kill them, then they pop up somewhere else.
Well, you don't have to kill them.
No, I mean, like...
They just have to fail a save.
One save.
One save. So they've got a 5 up until they fail it.
Yeah. And then they teleport somewhere else.
Yeah.
And then you've got to kill them there.
Imagine intentionally doing that to your character, teleporting him, and then busting a Geminids or a Shackles or a Purple Sun through him, and then pushing that out. It's kind of cool. So you can kind of do this like self-teleporting thing, which I think is pretty rad. But anyway, I like that. That seems pretty fun. So I think that's got some play. I think that's like a trick build that's real fun. Then you got Reinforced Battle Shields. It's cast on 6. Pick a Bonereapers unit armed with shields. Wholly within 24 inches. Until the start of your next hero phase, they have a 5+ DPR. Now, 5+ DPR, 6+ save as well for death. On your battle line unit that have a base 4 up save, there are 2 ways to get them +1. You can get them +1 if you take them in a particular Bone Reaper faction, or if you take Katakros, his command ability, army-wide, every unit on the board within 18 or 36, depending on if one of his characters is alive, +1. So I could put unit of skeletons on the board in 2 different factions that have a 3 up save, immune to battle shock on 40 wounds with a 5 up DPR.
Pretty tanky then, eh?
Pretty tanky. And then if you put the empowered Nadrite weapons on them and get the exploding 6s, so they explode on 5s, they're not Fire Slayers because they're not as expensive as Fire Slayers and they're not as survivable as Fire Slayers. But similarly, they don't require, like, baked into them, you don't need as much stuff to make them work. Yeah. Like, it's just a character in the background, all the free rules from being in. So I think they're really good. I think you're seeing a lot of skeletons on the board, in my opinion. I think that's because of that spell. That spell, amazing. And also the exploding 6 is amazing as well. So what I quite like about that as well, the idea of sending legions forward, backed up by some kind of like, casters, pushing those legions forward, just like the story. That's pretty cool. Then you got Drain Vitality, pick an enemy unit within 18 inches until your next hero phase, reroll unmodified hit rolls and save rolls of 6 made by that unit. So if you've got something where their damage comes on, so Ghoul King on Terrorgeist, yeah. So if he hits with some 6s, they make him re-roll it.
Re-roll those 6s.
Re-roll those 6s. So that's a pretty cool one. 18 inches though, so it's pretty close. And you got Mortal Contract, cast on 7. Pick an enemy within 18 inches and invisible. For the rest of the battle, roll a die at the end of each phase during which any attacks made by this unit inflicted any damage on Bonereapers. On a 3+, they suffer D3 mortal wounds. So that's kind of cool.
Yeah.
Stick that on a big monster who's going to be going in doing combat. Hit him up. So some
that lasts how long? How long does that spell last? Until the end of the battle.
Oh, Pete Pratt, thank you. So Man with Book read that wrong. The 5+ DPR, is only against mortal wounds.
Oh, okay.
Thank you, Pete Pratt. That's very good. Okay, never mind. Still good.
Yeah, but not.
Not as good. Not Fire Slayer level. In fact, lots worse.
Yeah.
Okay, so just take that back. Oh, damn. Man who reads book. I wish he could read that book. Still love him. Never going to be upset by that.
How long does the other spell last?
Which one?
The D3 mortal wound whenever you do damage against
For the rest of the battle.
Wow.
That's pretty cool, right?
Yeah.
That's pretty cool. Anyway. So some good spells there. I mean, that 5+ against mortal wounds is still decent, depending on the army you're playing against. I think the little snipe is really good. And then, the Drain Vitality isn't bad either.
Sound like a good spell lore.
Yeah, pretty good. But it's all about, like, buffing or debuffing. There's no real output, right?
Yeah.
And when we get to it, I think that's going to be the book issue the book has, is output. It's got defense, I think, but I'm not sure it has output. But I think there might be other ways to do it. Is there another way? Stop upsetting Nathan. Someone from Games Workshop watches an FAQ it to a 5+ field rate base. Right, okay. Should we talk about some warscrolls? That's next up. You happy with that?
Yeah.
Okay. Right, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to start talking warscrolls. So, should we talk about the big man himself? Not Nagash. We'll talk about the Katakros. Yeah?
Yeah.
So Katakros is the Orphorian. Katakros is an immortal demigod of war, a military genius, Nath. He is consummate commander. In conjunction with his trusted retainers, he bolsters the Ossiarch legions with iron resolve, surging physical power, and uncanny insight. So he's basically you.
Sure.
Right, so he's got 20 wounds.
Yeah, why has he got 20 wounds?
He's talking to that, Mike. JJ, I'm so sorry about tomorrow, but love you loads. 20 wounds with a 3+ save. But look at that stat, your favourite stat in the world. What's his movement?
Movement 4.
Flipping 4.
20 wounds. He's just a dude.
So he's 500
stone.
points when we talk about it,
Yeah.
to put it in context. And he's bravery 10. Yeah?
Sure.
I'm not that well known on War Scroll records, but it's the most wounds on a model. No, it is not. Not the most wounds. You can, because the loads of others have more. The War Mammoth has more than 20, doesn't it? Or does it have flat 20? I can't remember. No. The Corn Dragon's got 30.
Yeah.
There you
But
go.
I can't think of anything more.
Then Rob Ellis says, "Congrats, Nathan, for last Sunday from a Welshman." I think he's talking about
Ah, yes.
the ruggers.
The rugby.
The rugby.
Yeah. Thank you, sir.
Okay, so he's pretty slow. Move 4. Yeah, but there are ways to change that around. Right. Before we look at the weapons, you have to kind of look So he's got companions, right? And we've covered this on the show before, but Katakros is accompanied by a Gnosis Scrollbearer that attacks with a dagger, a Prime Necrophos that attacks with a Soul Reaver, a Great Blade, and loads of other stuff, right? The companions that currently accompany Katakros vary depending on the number of wounds suffered by this model, as shown on the damage table. You can only use the companion abilities on the right for the companions currently accompanying Katakros, and only those companions can attack. For all other rules purposes, companions are treated in the same manner as a mount. Okay? Haywo, thanks for subscribing. Beast Claw is the best claw. I'm very excited to listen to Haywo's review of the Mortars, by the way. I know he's working on it. So if you guys get the opportunity, please listen to that. So, are you confused by this? Are you okay with it? So basically, it's like a boss battle, right? So if you do 0-1 to him, 0 to 1 wounds to him,
all of the dudes can fight.
All the dudes can fight, right? Or all of the companions, right? And then he attacks with. He's got one attack, so with his Indicat, which is actually Katakros's weapon. That's right, Indicat. Why are you laughing, you prick?
What a stupid name for a weapon.
The whole book is full of stupid names.
What's the name of your sword? In a cat?
In the cat. Right, so...
Okay, mate.
It's okay, mate. So he's got... right. So, yeah, anyway...
He's going to fight an orc and they're just going to start laughing at him.
Yeah.
It's like, look, am I in the cat?
What's in the chat? In the cat. I like how this has tickled you. There's so much more. You're going to get triggered. Anyway, if he's 1 to 3 wounds, he's only got the Prime, the Necrophos, the Aviarch, the Spymaster, and the Legion Mortis. And you still can't use the shield.
What's the shield?
Right, we'll get to that because he has a shield, right?
But he can't use it while he's got blokes around him.
No, he can't use it, but he does have Indicat. But only one attack on Indicat, right? Then if he's taken 4 to 8 wounds, he's got the Aviarch, the Spymaster. Anyway, eventually, when he's taken 13 wounds, all the companions are dead. He's got 7 wounds left, and now he's got 4 attacks on Indicat, and he can finally use his shield, because he stood up, right? And when he does attack, so he gets, like Scarbrand, he gets scarier when he gets wounded. He hits on a 3, wounds on a 3 with 4 attacks, Rend 3, 3 damage. So pretty good. Then his shield, which has 4 attacks, hits on a 3, wounds on a 3. I don't know why it then lists the number of attacks. It cannot be used, cannot be used, cannot be used. Why don't you just say can be used and then 4, but whatever. Then 3s, Rend 2, doing 2 damage.
That's a special shield, isn't it?
Yeah, so once he gets wounded, it's a nice... Do you know what's nice about that? Is I would say that's a much more elegant way of doing activation wars, right? You know, so like something activates before this guy goes, and then he gets stronger if you haven't killed him. It's just like right now he's going to punch back at his full power.
Well, doesn't it work out about the same, like with all the other dudes?
To be honest, I really haven't worked it through. It's quite a complicated war scroll. We'll do a deep dive. We'll do a rundown on that war scroll later, right? So then you got the abilities. You got Deadly Combination. If the unmodified hit roll for an attack made with a shield in Mortis is a 6. The attack inflicts 2 mortal wounds on the target in addition to any normal damage. Yeah?
Yeah.
That's not bad. That's fine. So he's pretty tanky. He's definitely tanky, right?
Yeah.
And he's fairly outputty, but he's not a Good King Terrorgeist, Keeper of Secrets, a Bloodthirster, or 40 Plague Monks. Vangelis says his shield has double the rend of the Slayer of Kings. That's the other news we missed. It's been leaked about the Everchosen, but not the Everchosen, Slaves to Darkness Battle Tome. That's been leaked.
Yeah,
in December. All in the Gloomspite Gits chat, the most powerful of all the chats. And Zykas, it is a good shield. It's a particularly good shield. He's also got Mortarch of the Necropolis, because the Necropolis, by the way, is where they all hang out. That's their city. At the start of the hero phase, if this model is on the battlefield, you can pick up to 3 friendly Ossiarch Bonereapers units, wholly within 24. This model, for each of those units, you can either heal up to 3 wounds allocated to that unit, or if no wounds are allocated, you can return a number of slain models to that unit if a combined wounds characteristic of 3 or less. So that gets important later, but you can heal some units up, right? To 3 different units.
Yeah.
Yeah. Right. Thanks, Colonel Cabbage. Appreciate that. Love you loads. All right, and he's got netherite weapons. If the unmodified hit roll for any of those weapons that are netherite weapons is a 6, it scores 2 hits. Yeah? Happy with that?
Yep.
Right. So his command ability, Endless Duty. You can use his command ability in your shooting phase or combat phase. If you do so, pick one friendly Ossiarch Bonereapers unit that's wholly within 12 inches of the model with this command ability. Add one to the attack characteristic of the weapons used by the unit in the phase. They cannot pick the same unit to benefit this command ability more than once. So that's one, Endless Duty. Or Supreme Lord of the Bone Reaper Legions. You can use this command ability in your hero phase if Katakros is your general. If you do so until your next hero phase, add one to hit rolls for attacks made by friendly Ossiarch Bonereapers units until they are, if they are wholly within 18 inches of this model, and add one to the save rolls for attacks that target friendly Mortis Praetorian units while they're wholly within 18 inches of this model. You can only use this command ability once per hero phase. Yeah, so you could potentially stack the +1 attacks with the +1 save and the +1 to hit if you spent 2 of the endless points, right? So some pretty strong allegiance.
So you have to use endless points for those command abilities.
You do, okay. Yeah. Now you see how that range is 18 inches. So everyone within 18 inches of him, it affects.
Becomes really good. Yeah.
However, if you have the prime Necrophis, so if he hasn't taken enough wounds that the prime Necrophis is there, I'm going to mess these names up loads. The range of that 18 inches extends to 36 inches. Yeah, so he's there, sat 500 points, movement 4, and he's making everyone in 18 inches for 1 command point have +1 to save rolls for attacks that target those more Praetorian units, and +1 to hit.
Yeah.
Okay.
It doesn't affect the Endless Duty, though.
He, by the way, is a Praetorian unit. So he's now on a 20 wounds with a 2-up save, just by using that command ability.
No.
So tanky AF. And then he's got the Gnosis Scroll Bearer at the start of your hero phase. Pick an enemy unit that is on the battlefield until your next hero phase. Subtract 1 from hit rolls. Not 18 inches, infinite range. Just pick a unit anywhere on the board, -1 to hit. What are your thoughts and feelings on that? I can just see your face.
You don't have to do anything either. You just I've got a scroll. You can't hit nothing.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, we need to talk about that, actually. Yeah, what do you think about that?
That's bullshit. Fuck.
Thanks to Adrian, by the way, you big git. Yeah, it is bullshit. Then is Aviarch Spymaster. Once per turn, you can roll a dice. When your opponent receives a command point on a 4+, that command point is lost.
Oh, that's really good as well. Bloody hell.
Speckle says I want to be there to cuddle Nathan.
500 points. Yeah, he's definitely worth it, isn't he? Wow.
So he's definitely got the survivability. Yeah.
Yeah, he's got no mortal wounds. Well, he's got the 6-up.
Save.
Yeah, that they come with. But
wow, and
of
course you could cast the 5+ save on him to stop mortal wounds as well, right?
Can he heal himself?
Yes, of course. He could apply that 3 extra wounds. There's also a character that heals 3 wounds as well. Yeah, so it's potential to put 6 wounds back on him a turn. That's based. I haven't even looked at the command traits and artifacts yet, so there might be even the options to do more. So you could put a ton of wounds back on him. You can't heal him. Why not? That's a big question. As it's cast on the caster. Oh, the 5+ is cast on the caster. That's correct. Thank you very much. Yeah, the more is it? There's 2 versions. There's the 5+ feel no pain. Or you can pick the reinforced battle shields are with a shield. No, armed with shields or Nandarite battle shields. He's got a shield, right? He very famously has a shield. If you do reinforced battle shields, he's got what's it called?
The shield or mortis.
Yeah, it's a shield. So he can give him. So someone can cast a 5+ DPR save on him. I'm pretty certain that's right. So there's 2 5+ feel no pains. There's one on a caster and there's one you can cast on a unit in 24. Yeah. But we're all obviously getting this information, very few, it's either from screenshots or books. But I'm pretty certain we're spot on in some of the cases. But if you guys in the Twitch chat want to help, big love, and I appreciate it, Liam. Thank you for helping. But you can heal him, Nath.
Yeah, so you can heal him.
He can heal himself.
Yeah, he's only got a 6-up against mortal wounds, but he's going to have a 2-up armor save.
And you can cast a 5-up on him.
Yeah.
Okay. So 500
But-
points.
So the 5 up when you cast, that's the one where you teleport someone
No,
else.
that's the one that's on the caster. There's two. There's one that casts on a caster, and if you fail it, they teleport. There's one you can cast on a unit of Bonereapers within 24 inches.
So even if...
Only if they have a shield, though.
Yeah, but the teleport one, that one's even better.
Yeah, but that's only on a caster. He's not a caster, though.
Isn't he? Oh, he's useless.
I love the mini boss bit though, and I like that he's movement 4. And I definitely think we're talking currently about Katakros, so I think you're going to put him on the board, like right in the front line. I reckon, unless he gets ganked. And that 20 wound pool does sound great, even with a 2-up armor save. But still, a couple of good rules on a Ghoul King or Terror Geist can just nuke him, right?
Yeah.
And can lose him. Yeah, but I don't think. I think he's good, but I don't think he's an auto include. But don't forget, if you put him on the board, you start with 3 points as well. He definitely seems worth the 500 points. You start with the 3 command points. Obviously, you can activate his 2 command abilities. You're left with another one as well. But he's interesting. I think you build around him. Obviously, when it's that many points.
Yeah, that's a load of points. It's a big quarter of your army.
Mm-hmm. Right, so that's Katakros. And before we talk about anything else, I'm so sorry. That I haven't talked about the Bone Tide Nexus, their piece of
their terrain thing.
Their terrain. Yeah.
Was that war scroll in the thingy as well?
2+ tough in the chat. Thanks very much. Of course, obviously, because he's a liege, Nath, you also generate an extra point as well because he's a liege.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so 4. But we'll get onto that in a bit and how you might. Right, so Bone Tide Nexus. I don't think he's an auto include, right? Because the mortal wound output, like he can go down sharpish, but we'll see. At least his move doesn't get any lower. So the Bone Tide Nexus, 3 pieces of terrain, awesome model in my opinion. You basically at the start of your hero phase, Nath, or in your hero phase, not the start, you can choose from this terrain feature to unleash some things. So Punishment of Agony, pick an enemy within 18 inches on a 4+, subtract 1 from hit rolls. Double that up with Katakros, pick a unit in 18, -2. You haven't even cast Geminids yet. Not bad. You got Punishment of Death, pick an enemy within 36 on a 2+, it suffers a mortal wound. Fine, if you want to start scaring some people. Then you got Punishment of Ignorance, pick an enemy wizard within 36
So
inches.
do you just choose one of these things?
Just one of these things every hero phase. Okay. Pick one enemy wizard within. Don't worry, it's okay. Pound Creep's not that strong yet. Omega Hagaberg, thank you for subscribing, by the way, for 16 months. Evangela says he's not as good as Vorgoroth for 1200. Big smiley face. You pick an enemy unit within 36 inches on a 2+, subtract 1 from casting, dispelling, and unbinding rolls until the next hero phase.
36 inches, that one.
Yeah, 36 inches. And obviously you can put, we haven't talked about it yet, but you can put Nagash in this army as well. And Arcan. They've had their war scrolls change quite a bit. But obviously...
Do we know the rules for deploying that thing? It's quite big, isn't it?
Yes. But single terrain feature is an obstacle. No, it'll just be inside your territory, I think. I actually don't know the rules.
Will it fit?
Will it fit? No, it's not that big. Right. Then you got Punishment of Ignorance. Pick an enemy... Punishment of Lethargy.
Yeah.
I think I've been punished with this before. Pick an enemy unit wholly within 18 on a 4+. That unit cannot run until your next hero phase and has a D6 charge is used to make charge rolls instead of a 2d6.
Oh, that's harsh against some armies.
That is harsh. So it's the normal territory. Thanks 2+ stuff. Inside your territory, more than 6 inches from table edge, outside 1 inch of terrain. So same as other faction terrain currently. But it is big. And it might cause... I suppose it might cause an issue. It's... by the way, I went to Warhammer World today and I looked at it. It's as big as, kind of base size as the Loon Shrine. Have you ever found you've had difficulty putting the Loon Shrine down?
Yeah, so when I've played Battle for the Past a couple of times, the Loon Shrine has ended up in, really awkward places because there's no way you can fit it.
Yeah.
So, because that's the worst one, where you've got that silly little triangle of deployment area. If there's terrain in there, you're pretty scuppered.
Yeah.
And the Loon Shrine base is not that big, actually. It's only like that.
Well, this is quite a big base. What's really interesting is if you watch some especially tournament games where there's heavy terrain. The issue when you roll off for sides, one of the things you can see is, especially when you play Idneth, they can put such a large footprint of faction terrain down in your deployment that you actually can't put your faction terrain down. Yeah. And I mean that's huge for Gits. This is just a nice additional free bonus thing. it's not too much of an issue.
Yeah, because forget your actual allegiance abilities are. It's more likely that it's the terrain piece than relying on the moon to do anything. So,
yeah. But the terrain piece is super important in the Gitz army. Right, so those are the things. I'm going to say that that punishment of lethargy is going to be really important later on, especially if you're building more of a gunline build. You can do that, Nathan. I can build a castle. I'm so excited by this army. You got deadly gaze.
Guys with the guns.
Huh?
It's that catapult thing.
Yes, that catapult thing. It's as good as the Iron Blaster. Maybe better. Spoilers, it's a lot better. So that's Katakros and the terrain piece.
Yeah.
Not bad compared to other terrain pieces, right?
Cool.
Yeah. Pete Pratt says the Nexus is meant to replace one of the normal pieces of table terrain. Okay, so there's some special rules for the deployment I haven't seen. No idea how that will work in tournaments. Same. Right. Arch Cavalos Xantos and the Liege Cavalos. I'm a big fan of the Arch Cavalos. Just the model, right? 7 wounds, syrup save, move 12. All the kind of like horse dudes, movement 12. And bravery 10. He's got Dart Lance, 3/3s, Rend 1, 2 damage, 2-inch range, and he's got a battle shield. So 3s, 4s, no Rend 1 damage. So if you wanted to, you give him that 5+ save from the spell. You got hooves, and then he's got a horsey attack, 6 attacks, 3s, with Rend on the horsey. Go on, horsey.
Those aren't horsey attacks. 3s, -1.
That is, no, they're not traditional horsey attacks. Yeah, they are new mounted. Well, because if a horse is dead, it's got a lot less skin protecting you from its bones. I'm going to argue with. Anyway, so this is a named character. And he's got Dart Lance, damage characteristic of 3 instead of 2 if he charges. Pretty good. It would have been really nice to actually had that on the actual horseman anyway. Then you reroll wound rolls of 1 for attacks made by this model that target the order and destruction units. How do you feel about that? It's a racist model.
Hatred of the living.
Yeah.
So chaos aren't living. Oh no! Reroll wound rolls for attacks made against chaos.
OJ, he is a saucy horsey. Yeah.
So reroll wound rolls of 1 for attacks made against
order and destruction. And you can reroll any wound rolls for attacks made that target chaos.
Yeah, he's a racist.
It's a giant racist. Arch Cavalos Xantos the racist. And then he's got the unstoppable charge. After this model makes a charge move, you can pick one enemy unit within an inch. You roll a number of dice equal to the charge roll for that charge move. And for each 6, the enemy unit suffers a mortal wound. Nathan, this is the bit that gets really exciting. In addition, this model can move an extra 3 inches when it piles in if it made a charge move in the same turn.
That's great. Yeah.
Yeah, baby. So that plus 3-inch is huge on the unstoppable charge. Piling 6 inches. One of my favourite realm artifacts is the Griffonian Gauntlets. Extra 3-inch piling on a character. That's really good. You'll sneak around some places. Then you've got command abilities. He's got Endless Duty. You can use this command ability in your shooting phase or combat phase. If you do so, pick one friendly Ossiarch Bonereapers units holding within 12 of this model with this command ability. Add 1 to the attacks characteristic of weapons used by that unit in the phase. You cannot use the same unit to benefit from this command ability more than once. This, by the way, I think is your go-to. That +1 attack. When we get to the units that you can put this on, I think that's where it starts to really power up. Yeah. And then you got Still Their Breath, another ability to do. You can use this command ability in your shooting phase or any combat phase. If you do so, pick a friendly Mortis Praetorians unit again within 24. Reroll wound rolls of 1 for attacks made by that unit, the target order instruction, or reroll all 2 wounds against chaos. So he's cool, right?
Yeah. I wonder why they get all the wounds. Oh, chaos.
Reroll wounds. I mean, some of the stuff is quite cool, right? When we get to the units to put this on. In fact, let's go look at Motrek, the Mortek Guard, before we look at anything else, because I think that's a great part of the conversation when we're looking at the characters.
Okay.
Yeah. So you can take them. Oh, I didn't talk about the points. Sorry. So Mortek Guard let me just double check. So you can take them in units of 10 to 40, and they're 130 for 10.
How many points was that, dude? Cavalros.
Oh, Caballos was 220. So not too bad, but I probably won't take him because he doesn't have. I can't give him an artifact or a command trait, so I'm not interested. So the Mortek Guard, Nath, they're 130 points for 10. So keep that in mind. If you take the max blocks of 40, they're at 440 points. Yeah. So you get a pretty significant points reduction of, like 80 points. Yeah, that's right. 260, 520, 80 points off if you take the 40, right? So you get the last 10 for 50 points. So this is a big deal. Take that chaos, says JJ. Right, so they can either have their Nadrite blades or they can have, now on the app it says Nadrite blades again, but that's obviously the Nadrite spears because they're 2-inch range, so that's wrong. So they're both the same profile, hits on 3s, wound on 4s. However, the blades, they have 2 attacks each. The blades have rend of 1, damage 1. The spears have no rend, but they are 2-inch range. Yeah. So
they're on 32 mils, these guys.
Yeah. So you're going to get more attacks in. So it's what you think is more valuable. For me, I actually think that I'd go for the blades because I prefer the rend. And that's because you can stack that. They're on 25 mils. Is that correct? Thanks very much, everyone in the chat. 2 plus Tough and Tobias. 25 mils. Then I'm definitely taking the... There was a choice before when I thought it was 32s, but no choice now. So taking the blades, because that command ability that we saw before on the Horst character, you can put on the generic Horst character, and he can give them +1 attack. So they're going to be battle line unit. Yeah.
Oh, these Praetorian... Don't they have to be Praetorian?
For +1 attack? No, that's Praetorian is for the rerolls.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Let me just double check that because I have just learned this today. So because I've just come back from a weekend. Endless duty, you can use command ability, pick one else, add one to the attack's characteristic. No, it doesn't have to be a Praetorian. Just Ossiarch
Bonereapers.
Bonereapers.
+1 attack.
Yeah, +1 attack.
Not the reroll wounds.
Not the reroll. No. So +1 attack on that big block of 40. So obviously you're going to get 40 extra attacks. And now we know they're on 25s. Thanks to the loves in the chat. Appreciate you tons. So yeah, you're going to be building them with the blades because you're going to want that 1 rend, and you can still attack in 2 ranks. So I think that's huge. And then the character in charge gets the Soul Reaver Great Blade, and they all get shields, right? So the Necrofess, 1 in every 10 models in the unit can be a Necrofess. Add 1 to run and charge rolls for this unit. That's big. Oh, by the way, they're movement 4. They've got wound roll of 1. They've got 1 wound, 4 up saved, bravery 10. But the bravery 10 doesn't matter. I mean, kind of like so it's not an issue. I'm not even going to read it out, Nate. And then 1 model in the unit can be a mortal Hekatos and add 1 into the attacks characteristic in this model's melee weapons.
Yep.
Yeah, so that's fine. And then not forgetting that if they roll any 6s to hit, they generate 2 wound rolls.
Yeah.
Don't forget, you can cast on that unit. So already we've seen the buffs. Here it is. We've got a 440 point unit. It's a lot of points. Yeah, they don't have that DPR save that I was talking about before. No, they do, because they've got shields. So you cast the 5+ DPR save against mortal wounds, not against other saves. They can have +1 attack each. They can have exploding attacks on 5s. This is just what we've done so far. They're immune to battle shock. They've got +1 save if you take them in a particular army, or if you take them with Katakros. Then obviously they can get +1 save. No, that's Praetorians. That's wrong. They can only get +1 save if they go in a particular army.
Okay.
But what you can do, Nath, is have Shield Wall. And you can use the command ability at the start of the combat phase. If you do so, pick 1 friendly Mortek Guard unit that includes a Mortek Hekatos. So like the commander in the unit generates a command ability, and then you can reroll saves. They stole it. Like Grinaldi says in the chat, they stole Shield Wall from the Dispossessed.
Yeah, gave it to these tonsils.
So 440 points. Spend a command point, they can reroll the saves. +1 attack. Yeah, 5+ against mortal wounds. Interesting unit. I think you're going to see No, you can. Only says you can't explode on 5s. On 6s, you can if you cast a spell on them, and that spell is called, just so you can double check, it's called Empower Netherite Weapons, because they have Netherite blades. Pick a Bonereapers unit wholly within 24. It's cast on a 5. Till the start of your next hero phase, units of Netherite weapons ability explode on 5s instead of 6s. So that's how you do that. If that helps you out. Yeah, JJ, they're like Death Sequitors, really. So they're super interesting.
Yeah.
And they're also battle line. That's super key, right? Devastating. And that's what do you think about that shield wall? Big news, Nath. If you run a giant over,
I'm going to put that dude in my pants. Old Hecatros bloody blah face. He's going straight in the underpants.
Straight in the underpants. Okay.
I'm going to go and polish me giant now.
Like Colonel Cabbage is saying in the chat, Cavalos has a +1 to hit bubble RFI too. Yeah, there's loads still to talk about. We're not even close, but I think it was worth talking about them because these seem like a power piece to me.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so we'll go back now and start talking about characters, because the Liege Cavalos, who is the generic character, he's got a 3-up save. He moves 10, so he's not as fast as the other guy. But he's got 7 wounds. So base 3-up save. Not forgetting we can put him in the army that gives him a 2+ save.
Yeah.
He's got some pretty decent melee profile, but not great. 3 attacks, 3 threes, red 1, 2 damage. The Horsey is still doing them 6 attacks, Nath. He's got that unstoppable charge ability, and that's what's really exciting. 3-inch extra piling, obviously does mortal wounds when he charges.
Yeah.
Add the Griffonian gauntlets onto this guy. Pile in 9 inches, or Thermal Rider Cloak. Pile in 6 with Fly.
Yeah.
Really good. Really good. So you're going to have to watch out for that. And he has that command ability as well. Pick a friendly Ossiarch Bonereapers unit wholly within 12 inches of this model with this command ability. So you do have to do it at the start of the combat phase. So he is going to have to charge off with the block of 40. Yeah. Or just be in the middle of them, which would look quite cinematic, I think.
Yeah.
Anyway.
How many points is he?
Okay. Good question. So he is... That's a good question. Thanks, Nath. Appreciate that. He is... Liege Cavalos, he's 200 points, which I think is a little bit much for him.
I don't know. He's got a great armor save. Decent move.
Yeah, and it could comfortably be a 2-up armor save.
Yeah. Good command ability.
Great command ability.
Sound, yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's worth that.
Agreed. So then you've got... So Liege Cavalos, really, really good. I would say you think you're going to see him in Horde armies, but you're not necessarily going to see him in maybe the more elite versions. But the army list building, again, I was streaming all weekend, so I had to put it all together today. I think that there's lots to talk about here. So this is our first pass.
Cool.
So then you've got the special characters. Yeah? The Bone Shaper, right? So it's move 5. He's got 5 wounds. He's got 4-up save, so a little bit more reasonable. He's got an attack, but that's not really important. So the Bone Shaper in your hero phase, you can pick one friendly Ossiarch Bonereaper unit within 6 inches of this model, and you can heal 3 wounds that have been allocated to that unit. If no wounds have been allocated to the unit, you can return a number of slain models that have combined wound characteristic of 3 or less. So with Katakros and a Bonereaper, you could put 6 models back into that unit of infantry if you wanted to. Or you could just heal 6 back to Katakros. Or 6 back to a Harvester.
So, like, if a Bone Shaper or something like that heals a unit of 2 wound models...
You only put 1 back.
So you can't put 1 with 2 wounds and 1 with 1 wound. Okay.
That's the Bone Shaper. So that's a cool ability. So he's your healer. And the Bone Shaper, FYI, Bone Shaper is... 130 points, right? It's also a wizard, can only cast the 1 spell and only unbind the 1 spell. He's got Shard Storm, a casting value of 5. If successfully cast, pick an enemy unit within pick one enemy unit and roll 1 dice for each model from that unit that's within 18 inches of the caster, and on 6 it's suffer a mortal wound. So just clear off a horde.
Yeah.
But I would say you're going to be taking
spells out the law.
Spell out the law as opposed to that spell. It's a bit more situational. Then you've got the Soul Reaper, another generic character, 5 wounds with a 4-up save. pretty decent in combat, Nath. 3 attacks, 3s, rend 1, 2 damage. But check this out. If unmodified hit roll for an attack made with Soul Reaper is a 6, you inflict 2 mortal wounds on the target, but then not in addition. And then you can reroll hit rolls for attacks made with Soul Reaper if the target is 5 or more models. So quite a little nice character. You know, for when those 10 Revenants come in the backfield, or your like Kinrian Heart Renders, like he genuinely might go through that unit, which is pretty rad. Yeah, so like a nice little backfield character. He's also a wizard. Can only cast 1 spell and unbind 1 spell. He's got Soul Blast, which is cast on a 7. And you roll 1 dice for each enemy unit. Sorry, hold on. You roll 1 dice for each enemy unit within 3 inches of the caster, or roll 1 dice for 1 enemy unit within 18. Yeah. And then on a 1, nothing happens. On a 2 to 3, they suffer a mortal wound. On a 4+, D3 mortal wounds.
That's right.
It's fine. It's fine. I would say maybe you take him as a different wizard. The Soul Reaper costs 120, so he's 10 points cheaper. But I think the other wizard is better because it's for 10 points more. I'm casting a spell and I'm healing. And I don't know how. There's no equivalence there, in my opinion. You know, why wouldn't you take a wizard who heals 3 a turn as opposed to the other guy? Unless you've got something different that you think. Same to the Twitch chat.
Yeah, I mean, the healing sounds good. This guy's more killy, but yeah, it sounds like everybody else will be doing the killing anyway. So.
Yeah, I think healing's way more important because this army is going to suffer to attrition, in my opinion.
But if you are tight for points, so it sounds like it's an elite army. So if you're tight for 10 points, then sod it, you just go with this dude.
Mm-hmm. Now, unfortunately, the Soul Mason, the ugliest looking model. Liam Jordan in the chat, a big fan, by the way, of the Soul Reaper, but the Soul Mason. This is unfortunately an ugly one. He's got 6 wounds with a 5 up save, but I think you'll be taking him. He's got his staff, which is 2 attacks and can do D3 damage, and his ossified claws have got rend as well, whereas the other ossified claws didn't, but never mind. Anyway, he's got Mortex Throne. At the end of your hero phase, roll a dice if this model for this model. On a 1, nothing happens. On a 2 to 5, this model can attempt to cast Soul Guide, even if he's already attempted to cast it. And then on a 6, he can attempt to cast it D3 more times. Right? And Soul Guide is cast on a 6. You pick a friendly Ossiarch Bonereapers unit within 24, and you can reroll hit rolls of 1 for attacks made by that unit until your next hero phase. So obviously he's fantastic to double up with Katakros with that +1 to hit on Praetorian units. Now you're rerolling 1s on multiple Praetorian units.
If you've done your soul guiding right.
So you can really buff up a bunch of guys, and then just, like, it's cool. I think it's pretty fun. But you can only cast 1 spell. Oh, no, sorry. And this model is also a wizard that can cast 2 spells and unbind 2 spells. So he's just better. The Soul Mason is 140 points. So your options are between 140 points for a 2-cast wizard who buffs all your units, or 130 points for a 1-cast wizard but as a healer, or 120 points for a combat wizard. So I think you're probably going to see Soul Masons and Bone Shapers in the army, and less Soul Reapers. But as stated, the Soul Reaper does look rad. Yes, there are some artifacts to talk about as well. I'm sorry, but we'll go into those in a bit. Then you've got the limited edition. Nath, bets on whether or not this guy's good before we even open the War Scroll.
Who's that? The
Vokmortian, Master of the Bone Tithe.
Yeah, he'll be great.
So the limited edition model has got a 6 up save, moves 5 inches with a 5 up save. He's got a shooting attack, which is 12 inches, 3s, 2s, rend 1, D3 damage, and then he's pretty good in combat as well. Anyway, his abilities are, at the start of the combat phase, roll a dice. On a 5+, you can pick an enemy model within 3 inches of Vokmortian. The enemy model cannot attack Vokmortian in the combat phase. Pretty good, because he's not that survivable, 6 wounds with a 5 up save. So I would say that's a bonus for him. Then you've got Grim Warnings, subtract 1 from the bravery characteristic of enemy units while they are within 12 inches of this model, and subtract 1 from unbinding rolls for wizards attempting to unbind a spell cast by this model. If an enemy general is slain within 3 inches of this model, for the rest of the battle, subtract 2 from the bravery and then 2 from the unbinding under the same conditions. So that's I think that's neither here nor there personally.
So -1 turn bind on spells cast by him. Wow, that's pretty good.
Yeah. So yes, yeah, it is really good. And he also is the only other 2-cast wizard at this kind of like small character level, right?
And his spell is Mortal Touch.
Yes, his spell is Mortal Touch. It's cast value of 8 though, so hard to cast. If successfully cast, pick one enemy roll within 1 inch of the caster. On a 5+, it's slain.
Oh, okay.
So you get him into combat, you roll your 5 up so he doesn't die, you cast your 8 spell, and you just be like, you're dead now. Pretty fun. Pretty fun. So Mortal Touch.
How many points was he again? Sorry.
So, I haven't said that yet. But he is, Vought Martin is 180 points. So he is a lot more. Maybe he's worth it. I think he probably, I don't know. The Unbind's not that big a deal. And for me, model-wise, I'm not into the Bone Shaper, but I think, the Soul Mason. But I think the Soul Mason's your go-to choice, if not the Soul Reaper. But, I don't know. What do you think?
Yeah, no, I think he's good. He's got some uses. The -2 unbind thing is almost like he's got +1 to cast, really, hasn't he? Which is pretty good.
Yeah. Some people saying I'm not usually a fan of swinging spells like this, and Sergeant Rolf says the amount of rolls that need to go your way.
Oh, yeah,
but
I don't think the spell is that important. But when it goes off...
But what I like about that particular war scroll, talking about fun, that's one of those war scrolls and units you put in your army. It's a unique, so you can only put one in. And it's not hyper efficient, but it's just fun. Like we talked about the Flamespike Phoenix at the top of the show.
No.
Some units just aren't good, but some units are fun, and that one's a fun one.
I mean, obviously, if he's got a portal nearby, then he's got like a 19-inch exclusion zone. I'm not flying anywhere near that.
Yeah,
guy.
that's right. Vought Martin plus spell portal, trading poster. You've just mirrored what trading poster said in the chat. So put that through a spell portal, and you mini-handed dust stuff off. That makes it a lot scarier, and potentially makes him an auto-include, right? Because I mean, you had 70 points onto his cost, but the concept, and he's casting 2 spells.
Yeah.
So
he's doing other stuff as well. Yeah,
he's doing other stuff as well. Right. So those are all the characters, Nath. There's Nagash. Oh no, I haven't talked about Nagash. There's Nagash and Arcan as well. I wonder if their war scrolls have updated on the app. I'll just double check. Does anyone know if the app is updated? The most important point is that he no longer knows all of... So he's gone up in points, Nagash, to 880 points. He's lost the ability to cast spells that other Death Wizards know. Thanks very much, 8-Bit Jesus. So they don't know the spells anymore. Oh no, I might have to delete and reinstall. So it might come back to Nagash another day and look at the new units. So sorry about that, dudes. Oh no, lost it. Oh no, I've just lost. How do you feel about it so far, Nath? Twitch chat.
Oh, they look solid, don't they? But they sound like they're decent point chunks as well. So it's not going to. The Mortec Guard are your basic foot troops, and they were like 400 for a block of 40,
440 for a block,
30 for 10. So it's quite an elite army, but I mean they are
solid.
They're all really solid 4-up saves and all of this, and healing all over the place, and immune to battle shock, killing stuff left, right, and centre.
On battle line units that can have 3 attacks each. I mean, it's not witch elves.
It's not hard boys.
It's not hard boys. And that's a good point. Because those are really solid equivalents, right?
Yeah.
I think a unit of 15 hard boys with the buffs might go through them. Might.
Yeah, it depends who's fighting first. This becomes about positioning. So they're the same speed as hard boys. 130 for 10. But they're more expensive.
Hader Templar, welcome. Thanks everyone for sticking with us. Right, can I talk about the unit I really wanted to take?
More attacks.
Tiny Dino in the chat says, our boys are the best. Congratulations, Tiny Boys. Nath, do you want to talk to your fellow war boss?
Yeah, he's done
for the weekend.
Yeah, smashing and bashing his way through the mortal realms.
Right, so Oh, do you know what? Before we talk about Death Riders, I'll talk about the two other units because I think the Gothazar Harvester, right? The Gothazar Harvester is quite important. I don't think it's great, but you could maybe use it well. And I'll see. And it's cheap, so it's totally worth having a look at. So it's got 10 wounds with a 4-up save, and it moves 6. And that's fine because you're not moving it up with the infantry. You're moving it up with the elite units, and you're moving it up. Well, sorry, you're not moving it up with the knights or the cavalry. You're moving it up with, if you're doing it with anything, you're doing it with the infantry blocks, in my opinion.
Okay.
Right? So you've got either soul cleaver sickles or soul crusher bludgeons. It's the same profile. So the difference is that sickles add 1 to hit rolls for attacks when you attack 5 or more models, so like scything things. Yeah. Or the soul crusher bludgeons, if an unmodified hit roll is a 6, it inflicts 2 mortal wounds, but the attack sequence ends. There we go.
Oh, it's got a 16 shooting attack.
It does have, a Death's Head more. 4 of them. It's got
3s -1 damage. Yeah. Decent enough. Yeah.
It's fine. And then the +1 attack, if you did do the sickles, would mean that those 6 attacks would be hitting on 2s, wound on 3s, red 2 doing 2 damage. But it's not a monster, in my opinion. This is a support piece. By the way, it comes in at 200 points.
Okay.
Right? So that's cheap for a monster, but, 10 wounds, it's not particularly survivable anyway. The thing that's really interesting about this is the Bone Harvest. So you roll a dice each time a model is slain within 3 inches of this model. So it has to be fairly close. On a 4+, you can pick 1 friendly Ossiarch Bonereaper unit within 6 inches of this model. If you do so, and the slain model had a wounds characteristic of 4 or less, you can heal 1 wound allocated to that unit. And if the slain model had a wound characteristic of 5 to 9, you can heal up to D3. And if the model that was slain initially started with a wounds characteristic of 10 or more, you can heal up to D6 wounds allocated to the unit. Now, if they don't have any wounds to allocate, you can put that many models back into a unit. So what that means is if a model that's got between 5 and 9 wounds dies, so let's pick a Varangard, never hear about those anyway, or a Stormfiend, and it has to be within 3 inches of this model, then you would do D3, either wounds back to something that's 6 inches, or you would heal into a unit and maybe bring 3 back. However, so that sounds great when you look at it, but it's the fact that it has to be within 3 inches. That's really the issue. Yeah, and then it has to be within 6 inches of the other. So you would have to fight, really regimented.
It does a fair amount of damage.
Yeah. Well, so as the guys are saying in the chat, you could just stick him next to your block of 40.
Yeah.
And let's say you shot and you killed half. Yeah. I basically roll 20 dice, and on 4, and obviously I'll just straight away put 10 back into that unit, and they're immune to battle shock, so it doesn't matter. Roll dice within 3 inches of this model. So, and this is what's really important. If you stacked 2 Gothazar Harvesters, that's 400 points. It's a lot of points. It's basically the same cost as another unit of. So just picture this: 2 Gothazar Harvesters in the middle of your army, and then 2 units of the blocks of 40. Right? Someone does a ton of shooting, or charges them and whacks a bunch of them. All you do is you remove all those models, but because they're in range of 2, you roll a 4-up for each one because it says in range of this model, and then you put them back. So it's very unlikely you're going to kill loads of them. Twitch chat, if that didn't make sense.
Yeah, if you got 2 of them.
Oh, hold on.
But if I'm taking models off, I'm not going to be taking.
Each time a model is slain.
Yeah, I'm going to be taking the models off from the back of the unit, far away from that dude.
Yeah, that's really true. But it doesn't say enemy models as well. It's also friendly models.
Oh yeah.
So that's my point. As a Death Legion.
Yeah.
Yeah.
As your models get slain, he can put them back into the.
Yeah, and like Tiny Don is saying in the chat, it makes the Petrifex unit of 40 Mortec pretty much immortal. Yeah, so 3+ save.
Yeah.
Moving forward. Yeah, right. So yeah, you can dual stack it. It's just bonkers. It's just really good. So it doesn't matter how many you lose. right? And there's some janky stuff as well, right? Roll dice each time a model is slain within 3 inches of this model. Fair enough. Let me just double check. Bone Reaper's unit within 6 inches of this model. If you do so, and the same model has a wounds characteristic, hold on.
So it's
If there are
basically
no wounds allocated to this model or that unit, a combined wounds characteristic is equal to or less than the number of wounds you could have healed. So you return them. But let's just do this in the hero phase, right? I take a unit of 40 dudes. I put 2 Gothizzar Harvesters next to them, and I bang Pendulum through them. Yeah? So now I've done, and let's say I do 6 mortal wounds, let's just say. Then I would roll 12 dice. Any 4 pluses, I'd put them back. Then I just move them forward in a line. Yeah, I return them to the unit, move them forward in a line. Then I do my +1 attack, my +3-inch command ability. Then I do my 4-inch move with my Mortec. Yeah, let's say I put 6 back, so that's a 6-inch movement.
Yeah.
I've now just moved a whole 40 across the board, and I've charged my opponent's front lines. It's pretty cool. Yeah. What if it says any Gothizzars? It says roll dice each time a model is slain within 3 inches of this model. Right? So that does that make sense?
No.
I think I've got the wording right if anyone wants to check me. So that's pretty cool. I don't overly love the models, and the mechanics are super janky, but you are going to be able to do some pretty interesting and horrible stuff in that. It'll be like a change host, chain summoning those guys. I think you're going to see people like Darren, Leo, like a whole bunch of people who do that sort of like, who else does that? I think Zinch Might does that quite effectively as well. Any Hawking spells from an enemy will move half the unit forward. Yes, basically.
Yeah.
That's if you take the Harvesters.
Yeah.
That's a build that way, right? But they're 200 points each. I reckon put 2 of them in, that's a lot, but you might put 2 of them in.
Yeah.
But it's a pretty cool build. Yeah. It says this, so it should be able to stack. Yeah, that's correct. It should be able to stack. So, really strong, the Gothizzar Harvester, specifically with the Mortrek guard. They're very much, like JJ was saying in the chat, they play like Necrons with their reanimation barges. A little bit similar. I think that's cool, man. Like, it's also very strong. Might be game-breaking in some elements, but whatever. Yeah. So then you've got them, and it's 200 points. Yeah, and he's not bad in combat on his own, but it is nukeable. 10 wounds.
Yeah.
You could shift that off the board, right? And then the catapult. This is where it gets exciting, in my opinion. So you move 4, fine. It's got 12 wounds, so it's a super survivable catapult, and it's a monster as well. 4-inch and a 4+ save, so it's tanky. It's a pretty good piece. So I love the little legs, absolutely. So it's got its main shot is 6 inches to 36-inch range. Obviously, with its move, it's going to be 40 inches.
Yeah.
It's got 3 attacks, 2s, 3s, no rend, but flat 5 damage. Right. By the way, this also costs 200 points.
Okay.
Right. So 3 attacks, 2s, 3s. You should probably miss one, and against a 4-up save, it's very unlikely you're going to get it through. But against lightly armored opponents, it's going to be pretty good.
Yeah.
Then there are 2 other fire modes. There's the Dreaded Catapult, the Cauldron of Torment, and the Cursed Steel. You can only fire each of these once per game.
Oh, okay, yeah.
So you can only do that. And they're not necessarily equal. So Cursed Steel is, do not use the attack sequence for an attack made with a Cursed Steel. Instead, pick one enemy model that's in range and attack and roll 2d6. Add the modifier for Cursed Steel shown on the damage table above. If the result is equal to or greater than the wounds characteristic of the target, it's slain. So I'll give you an example, right? Yeah. Let's say I'm going to pick your Grot Shaman, Nath.
Yeah.
I roll a dice. If it's equal to or above your wound characteristic, he's slain. If in 36 inches, I do it once per battle. However, if he's not wounded, then I take -3 away from it, from my dice roll.
Right.
However, if he is wounded, all the way down to only having 2 wounds left, I add +3. So I could, when he's wounded, roll a 9, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah. So anything below an 8 wound cap. But more realistically, he's going to be scary. He's not going to be scary to any characters when it's not wounded. but it's going to be scary to characters maybe later on. I think it's 2d6. Pick one enemy that's in range of the attack and roll 2d6. Shit. Do you know what? I really like the model, so I'm super pumped. I reckon we've got an army there, boys. That's fun. That's horrible. 2d6. -3. So later on, you can do 15, 2d6. So you're going to, like, almost guaranteed kill some grot characters. Like, and it's once per game, so you can only fire one. So, but you can take multiple of these guys, Nath. And then fire it off. Pretty horrible, in my opinion.
Yeah, that's pretty scary for my little dudes. They're like, keep your cauldrons and shit away from. Well, so the Cauldron of Torment. This is the other one, then, yeah.
Yeah.
Do not use the attack sequence made with Cauldron. Pick one enemy unit within range of the attack. Roll 1 dice for each model in the unit. Add the modifier for the Cauldron shown on the damage table above to each roll. If the result is greater than or equal to the unmodified bravery. Holy cow.
Oh, yeah. Do you want to explain that one out to people?
So roll 1 dice for each model in the target unit. Add the modifier. So there's no modifier. Well, so it's not wounded. Then the modifier makes the dice go lower and lower as it gets wounded.
Do you want to hear something really fun? Oh, you do that one. You do that one. And I'll talk to you about something else.
That's horrific. Against that. That could kill the 60 grots
straight off
with 1 shot. Yeah.
Yeah. So do not use the attack sequence. Pick one enemy unit that is in range of the attack and roll 1 dice for each model in the target unit. Add the modifier for the Cauldron of the Torment in the damage table above. If the result is equal to or greater than the unmodified bravery characteristic of the target unit, 1 model from that unit is slain. So, did you roll 1d6? Wait, did you roll?
1 for each model in the unit. So 60 grots, you roll 60 dice. They're bravery 4, so each 4 up equal grot.
Wow. That's horrible. Now, there's a really interesting question in the chat. So we talked about +1 attack on the Liege Cavalos. Now, the command ability uses command ability in your shooting phase or any combat phase. So in your shooting phase. Yeah? Now, the issue is here with the Mortrek Crawler is both of the Cauldron of Torment and the Cursed Steel, they shoot and they've only got 1 attack each, right? That's what it says. It says 1 attack and then it says CC. But if you actually read both of the abilities, it says do not use the attack sequence, and then Cursed Steel says do not use the attack sequence for an attack made with a Cursed Steel. The issue is they've never before really specified the attack sequence, if that makes sense. So does the attack sequence include, because if you do not include the attack sequence, that means I ignore the 6 to 36 inch range. Yeah. So if anyone's got a wording for where the attack sequence begins, so I can either, does that make sense?
No, yeah, I think it's the attack sequence starts with the to hit.
Where it says C and C.
Yeah, where it says C below.
So if that's the case, you'll actually be able to, with that command ability, be able to double both the shot that kills a character and double the shot that kills hordes.
I don't think so, because it says you can only make 1 attack per battle.
Yes. So I think that, but what I mean is that I think they need some clarification, because does that attack mean you can only use that attack line? But if you can double it, there aren't many, by the way, shooting attacks in this whole army. So I would say that it's definitely geared towards this model. Yeah. So that needs FAQing, I'm pretty certain. JPEG makes a good point. Most really scary hordes are higher than Bravery 6, but some aren't, specifically Nathan's.
Yeah. It's going to be Plague Monks and Grots.
So it's like the Vermin Lord Corruptor all over again, but at 36 inches. Yeah, so that needs to be clarified, because attack sequence never really has been specified. The +1 to attack. So then, like, they're all kind of arguing with each other, right? Yeah. And instead of having a row, I would, and also when things like this come up, and we are reviewing it early, then I personally say go for the worst version. just go for your one attack.
Yeah.
But there isn't unless they mean the Gothazar Harvester, like double one shot on it. There's no other shooting in the book, so it's got to mean this guy. 1A says, doesn't it worry you that shooting models like this can generate stupid double turn moments? Well, I actually don't think it's great. It's quite swingy, and it's a huge investment in points. It's 200 points. There's a real interesting conversation that I would love one of the game developers to answer at some point. They seem to have moved in the past year or so away from a game state that we used to have where everything was variable to a game state now where it's definitive. And what I mean by that statement is there used to be a bit of give and take. Like, I'd attack you. It wasn't guaranteed I was ever necessarily going to kill your unit, depending on what units they were. Yeah. But there was a lot more like, I was going to strike back, you were going to strike back. Yeah. A lot of the units now, or a lot of the game, is my unit will definitely delete your unit. Maybe you'll strike me back, maybe you won't. There's a lot of that. There's not anywhere near as much grindiness as there used to be. Yeah. So that 200 points that you're spending, other people are spending on a unit that will delete your block. And this 200 points might kill a character. It might kill a horde. And then with its 3 attacks, now you definitely can have +1 attack to its 3 attack base shot, which is great, right? 4 attacks, 2s, 3s, no rend, but doing 5 damage. If that goes well, that's 20 damage from downfield. Yeah. Like, that's just really good. Karadim in the chat has got a point. 1 attack per battle. That means 1 attack, not 2 attacks. So if you buff it to 2 attacks, it really doesn't affect that line. Only the necrotic skulls attack. Karadim, and I agree with you as well. Let's just get it cleared up. Let's get it FAQ'd so people don't row with each other as well. So the overkill units also makes the activation wars even tougher. I agree, Sergeant Rolf. So yeah, like the 200. This sounds great on paper, but my conversation is that like those Arboy units, when they're in the big war with the 2s +1 damage, they go through Plague Monks, go through Ghoul King on Terrorgeist. You can pick a bunch of examples of things that just go Fire Slayer block. The only thing you can't go through, but it goes through your back. So generally, but this is exciting for me because I can build my favorite ever type of army, a castle with shooting, and it's got some great range.
Yeah. Well, it's just something that can sit at the back and still be pretty scary at range.
Yeah, I mean, look at like if you pop 3 down, that's 600 points. It's a big investment. Don't get me wrong.
It's hitting on 2s, isn't it?
It's hitting on 2s.
So even if those characters are -1, they're still threatened because now it's hitting on 3s. Mm-hmm. It's great.
And if you've got +1 attack on each of them, I'm firing off 12 shots. Hitting on 2s. Just pick a horde, right? I mean, I could blip a unit of Plague Monks just like it's going out of fashion. Yeah. 2s, 3s, they're no rend, but they've got a 6-up save. Yeah? I'm putting 20 damage in per one of those guys. Downfield at 36. So it's just really, really good. Yeah. Thanks, Relian. If it says if you play as Mortis Praetorian, you can reroll 1s to wound as well. So we haven't got to some of that bit. We're still looking at the War Scrolls, right? But yeah, it's just rad. And I really like that model. Super survivable as well. You're not going to nuke it. You know?
Yeah.
And Owner says if you get the double turn, you get 2 times. What I really like about it, Owner, I'm not too concerned about this particular War Scroll because it's still a bit swingy. And also, it's got no rend. So I've got an okay armor save. Like most of that's being ignored anyway. And it's a big points investment, 200 points to do that damage. But what it does do, and it's really important, I would say most armies that are scary, that top tier at the minute, they're running towards you anyway. They're running across the board. They're like, I'm going to go fight you. You're like, cool, you come fight me. Which is how most of the games are being played at the minute. And then you've got Idneth kind of at the side, just doing their own fucking fish thing, salmon cannon everywhere. But this makes an army that does not want to move out until it wants to, Skaven. This is like, get the fuck out of your deployment and come and engage with me. It's also cool in scenarios like Knife to the Heart and Total Conquest. Like you could sit them in the backfield, stop those deep strikers and just be pinging shots.
Yeah.
It's pretty cool. It's nice to see a piece of artillery that seems good, but it's not like Storm Fiends.
Yeah, it's pretty good.
Yeah. Grinaldi. Why is no one talking about the potency of Cauldron of Torment. Where is Cauldron of Torment, please? Please talk to me about that, and I will get back to you. Anyway, the Cauldron of Torment, yeah. Don't use this attack sequence.
That's the
Pick
one that
one
half.
enemy unit that's in range, roll dice for each model of the target unit, add the modifier. If the result is equal to... roll 1 dice for each model of the target unit. No, you wouldn't take out that particular model. Like, you don't... Like, let's say there was a line of 10.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, you wouldn't roll a dice for each individual model, then take the one out the middle. That isn't how you do it. Curse Steel. Do not use the attack. Pick one enemy model. Thank you, Grinaldi. That does make more sense. That's cool.
Yeah.
That big screen. It's like, that Fire Slayer line? All right, yeah, you can do Curse Steel. But then you could do that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, that's pretty cool. Thank you, Grinaldi. Great tip. Using Curse Steel to destroy people's coherency. And if you're unaware, that means half of the unit's going to battle shock off the board.
Yeah.
Nath, I'm going to get these. These are cool. Okay. You ready to look at the other stuff?
Yeah.
So we've got Cavalry Death Riders. I think, by the way, those are going to be things that you can see on the tabletop, personally. So you've got Cavalry Death Riders. They've got 3 wounds each. They're Chaos Knights. 3 wounds each, 4 up save, but they're much faster. They move 12 inches.
Oh,
Yeah. Moon Tyrannid says, can I explain that? Okay, so in Age of Sigmar, let's say you have... so there's a 1-inch coherency between models.
In a unit.
In a unit. So let's say I have a unit of 10, and I string them out in a line, just in a straight line, and there's an inch between each one. So there are certain models in the game, Star Drakes, Giants, this Catapult, that can pick a single model out, so the attacker's choice as opposed to the defender's choice.
Yeah.
Pick a single model out, and once you remove it, you can remove it from the middle. If you remove it from the middle, then in the battle shock phase, half of the unit has to be wiped. Now that goes back to the player whose unit it is, but you can effectively break coherency. There is no way in the game to break coherency intentionally by the person who has it. I don't think.
When you remove models, you can.
When you remove models in your own unit, you can break coherency. Is the only way. You can't move into broken coherency.
You can't,
So 10 evocators, a bunch of stuff. Marathi's Gaze. So Marathi can also do it as well. Thank you very much, OJ and El Diablo. So there's
Dan Cold Troggoths can with their pulverizing grips.
Sorry, what can? Dan Cold Troggoths. Yeah, I mean, that's why they're taking so much, right, for that specific ability.
I've done that with them.
There's also Nighthaunt Hero too. So there's a bunch of... and it catches people out, right? And the Gorgon... I don't think he's going to catch anyone out, but maybe. So there we go. So
Death Riders then.
Yeah, good tip. Yeah, so 3 wounds each. Oh, we've been going a while. Sorry, man.
That's all right.
3 wounds each. It's a really exciting book. 3 wounds each, 4 up save, bravery 10, doesn't matter. So you got the Nadrite blades and then Nadrite spears, right? And you can either have the blades or the spears. If you've got the blades, it's 3 attacks, 3s, 4s, rend 1 damage. If you've got the spears, it's 2-inch range, 3 attacks, 3s, 4s, no rend, 1 damage. Don't forget those, they'll explode on 6s.
Yeah.
And you can do the spell to make them explode on 5s. 1 in every 5 monsters unit can be a necrophase, and you can add 1 to run rolls and charge rolls for that unit, includes any necrophi. And you got the Mortek Hekatos, add 1 to the attack characters for him. The Hekatos means you can pick 1 enemy unit. You can use command ability when a friendly unit of Cavalry Death Riders that include a Mortek Hekatos finishes a charge move. You can pick 1 friendly enemy unit within 1 inch of the Cavalry Death Riders unit and roll a number of dice equal to the number of models in the Death Rider unit. So if you have 15, you would roll 5 dice. If you have 5, you would roll 5.
Yeah.
For each 5+, the enemy unit suffers 1 mortal wound. So pretty cool.
And they can pile in an extra 3. That's great, yeah.
And then they can pile in an extra 3. Yeah. Now, if you have the spears and not the blades, they generate extra attacks on 5s as opposed to 6s. And then if you cast a spell on them, they'll generate extra attacks on 4s as opposed to 6s as well. Not forgetting, if you wanted to, you could have the character run along with them and give them an extra attack. So a unit of 15 could have 4 times 40, 60 attacks. they'll generate at least another 30 wound dice on top of that because of the exploding attacks. Wound on 4s is your main issue at the minute, no rend, and only doing 1 damage. So I really like this unit, but it doesn't have any punch. Just doesn't do anything, in my opinion. Like, it's cool. The mortal wounds, maybe. You know, use them like Boingrot Bounders. But, points-wise, FYI, sorry, for these chaps are... Oh, where have I lost it? What are they called again? The Death Riders. Yeah. I've lost my points for the Death Riders. Sorry, gents.
Kavalros Death Riders.
If someone could just let us know. Okay, well, so just double check me before you go live with the rules. Just double check on the exploding attacks, by the way, on 4s, but we'll see that. So they're 180 points for 5. Thank you, Mr. Teej. But they're 480 points for 15. And for 480 points, I want them to kill a thing. And I don't think they'll kill a thing. They'll also have a big profile, so I won't be able to all swamp around something. If you compare them to Gore Grunters, a unit of 6 Gore Grunters, which is cheaper, has unit of 15 will have 30 wounds. The Gore Grunters will have 30 wounds as well, but plus 1 damage. I know obviously they're different armies, but the Gore Grunters will just nuke a thing. These guys won't nuke a thing, in my opinion, because they've got no rend. So I really want to like these as well. So if anyone can come up with a reason why I should like these, I'd be interested. And Warner says you might run them because they're the only fast unit in the army, so you might take 2 little blocks. But 180 points, I don't know. Hi Mazva, by the way. But yeah, you might need them to get on the board. This army is an army that definitely could be swamped into its own backfield.
Yeah.
But
it'll probably fight its way out, but it might just take too long.
It might take too long. Yeah. Right. So then you've got. I don't think though, because you've got some great counter punchers. Because you've got the Immortis Guard, right? So these are the elite units, and these are. So anyway, they move 5. So again, still slow. 4 wounds with a 3-up save, right? So they got shields. That's important as well. Not forgetting they can have that 5-up. Feel no pain, like DPR save. And their shield has got 2 attacks, 4s, 3s, no rend, 1 damage. And their halberd's got 2 attacks, 3s, rend 2, 2 damage. Not forgetting you can add an extra attack to each one if you use the command ability. Not forgetting if you could potentially add +1 to their save if you took them in a particular army or if you took them with the special character Hekatos. So they'd be on a 2-up save, right? And then if the unmodified hit roll for their weapon is a 6, it generates another wound dice. So that's pretty strong.
They're really choppy, aren't they? Yeah.
Really strong. And then you roll dice for each... then they've got the Soulbound Protectors. And then roll dice for each... Before you allocate a wound or mortal wound to a friendly Ossiarch Bonereapers hero, while within 3 inches of this unit, on a 2+, you must allocate the wound or mortal wound to a friendly unit with this ability if it's within 3 inches of the hero. And instead... So you basically just take a mortal wound on a 2+. Wow. So you can really make their characters survivable if you needed to. Good protection for wizards. And then they've got their own command ability, obviously. They've got a boss man. And that is, you can use command ability in your combat phase after a friendly Immortis Guard unit is 4 in that phase. If you do so, that unit is within 3 inches of an enemy unit. You can pile an attack again, but only with their shields. And I love that. I love the idea of like they get like the shield like hits them, like they're like fight, and it's like charge lads. They just like move forward again with their shields. That's really cool, and a much better version of strike again. Like it's just like awesome. What do you think of that unit, Dees?
Yeah. How many points are them?
So 200 points for 3. This is where we fall down, and you can take them in units to 12, which is pretty rad. But they're
4 wounds.
4 wounds each, but I don't think that's 12 wounds with a 2-up save potentially. Yeah.
For 200 points.
Yeah. And you can give them a 5-up mortal wound save. So because they've got shields. So they're all right. They have it, and then there's an output version, the Stalkers. They move 6. They've got 4 wounds and they've got a 4-up save, so nowhere near as defensive. Yeah. However, output-wise, they've got 3 attacks with their Falchions. You could either have Falcons or
Spirit Blades.
Spirit Blades. Oh no, they have Spirit Blades, but 1 in every 3 can replace their Spirit Blades with a Falcon, right? So the boss man, if there's just 3, 3 attacks, 4 threes, rend 2, 2 damage. And Spirit Blades, 5 attacks, 3 threes, rend 1, 1 damage. However, you've got like a dance. So like they can like decide that they're either going to reroll hit rolls from attacks made by this unit, reroll save rolls, you can reroll wound rolls, but the one that you're going to do every time is improve your rend by 1 and your damage by 1. So 5 attacks, threes, rend 2 doing 2 damage. Yeah, with their Dread Falcons doing 3 damage flat. But these are expensive as well. These are also 200 points, but you can only have them in units of 3 to 6. And then your command ability for that unit, so it's every single unit has its own command ability.
So the Dread Falcon.
Yeah. Will have 3 attacks. 4s, 3s, rend 3, 3 damage.
Why would you take that thing?
Why would you take it?
I would just take the
Spirit
Blades all the time.
I would also take the Spirit Blades all the time. Yeah.
And dance with precision aspect.
And also, of course, you could add +1 attack onto them if you really wanted to, or +1 to hit. But I think 200 points, you're not going to take them, in my opinion, because they're movement 6. Like, and they're like 4 wounds with a 4-up save. It's too expensive. 12 wounds for 200 points. I'm not feeling it.
Yeah, but they're just your little counter punch thing.
Nah.
Like, just go into something and blend it.
Which is where we come to, I think, the winners in the book.
Oh, okay.
Harbingers and Archai.
Okay, yeah.
They're your counterpunchers. Think about your shield wall, right? You've got your shield wall, you've got maybe a couple of catapults firing at the back, some wizards in the middle. Then what you want is something that flies over. That's your movement. Because you talk about these compared to the Death Riders. The Death Riders don't really have any output.
Yeah.
But the Harbingers, movement 9. So if you're talking about the Morghast Harbingers, 6 wounds each, 4-up save. So they're 12 wounds, but for 210 points. Yeah. And then they've got Spirit Swords, just the same. 5 attacks, 3 threes, rend 1, doing 2 damage. So they just do 2 damage. You don't have to do anything. Or you take Halberds, and that's 3 attacks, 3 threes, rend 2, doing 3 damage. Just like they always were. But if you take the Harbingers, you obviously are charging on 3d6 instead of charging on 2d6. And you can charge a unit in 18 inches as well. And then you subtract -1 from bravery around. It's not too big a deal. Yeah. Or you've got the Archai, and the Archai, they've got the 5-up. They've got the same weapon profile, but they've got a 5-up mortal wound save on that unit. So they've got a 5+ DPR against mortal wounds. But they're 210 points for that 12 wounds with a 4-up save. Now again, you could put them in the army that gives them the +1 save, so they're sat on 3s. And also you could give them +1 attacks. If you wanted to do the Halberds, or you could put them in Katakros. No, they're not Praetorians, so I don't think you can give them. No, you can't give them +1. But I would say that your counterpunch units are not going to be Stalkers.
So they're the same points as the Stalkers. I mean, the Stalkers probably do a little bit more damage, but
the movement,
it's the movement is there.
Movement 9 base, I think, is the key part.
Yeah, I guess it'd be nice to have a few of them to reach out as well, I guess.
Yeah, so Morghast get the allegiance abilities just like everyone. They're Ossiarch Bonereapers. They've got the Hekatos keyword, so they've got the whole thing. So Sergeant Rolf, I agree with you. I was thinking Halberds and put them behind your guard. Move 9, fly over your guard, countercharge with this unit. I think that's really good. They're also a great source of putting wounds back in from your bone mesher. I can't remember his name. I'm so sorry. It's a lot to learn.
Harvester thing.
No, not the harvester. No, the bone shaper.
Okay.
So just healing 3 back into that unit as well. I think could be a potential. So I think the Harbingers and the Archai are the big winners there because of all the stacking buffs, especially when we get to all of the other things you can do. We haven't even talked about the free rules.
The Stalkers are.
You still like the Stalkers?
Pretty stabby.
Why? Because the you get the same spirit swords on the. Oh, I suppose actually you get an extra 5 attacks from the Stalkers. Is a good point. Because you get 3 Stalkers, right?
Yeah. So 3 Stalkers doing 15 attacks, so it's potentially 30 damage from 3 dudes.
That's true. That's a good point.
200 points. That's
but then
mental.
No, but it is good. But how are you getting them there? Like.
They just run over there and stab you in the face.
Nah, I just don't see it. Like, because you need the chaff line, right? But you can't. This army doesn't have like 10 of something. Like, it does. You could have 10 sword dudes,
Mortar
but they're
guards,
130 points, so your chaff's expensive. So throw your points in there.
Yeah, I don't know. I think a mix would be good. The Stalkers look really stabby.
Yeah. The Death Rider ability can be spammed, so they can delete a unit on the charge, move, then pile in and quiet for a second one. So we'll get to some of those things in a minute. Relian says Hekatos means you don't need a character near to use the command ability, so they can flank with +3 move and +1 rend if they're in Petrifex. So we'll talk about that now. And Ona and Morghast do benefit from allegiance abilities. So we'll start talking about that, Nath, shall we?
Yeah.
So obviously you can take them in different legions. And I'm going to just double check that I've got all of this. So you've got Mortis Praetorians, which is what Katakros is in. Yeah, that's -1 bravery for nearby enemy units. In fact, let me just double check. I've got all of these here, and I might be able to read them out to you. Because there's still artifacts as well that we haven't even talked about, right? Yes. There's loads of things to talk about. Artifacts, powers. Spell law. Okay, right. So Mortis Praetorians. Is that the first one we're talking about? So their battle trait, subtract 1 from the bravery characteristic of enemy units while they're within 12 inches of friendly Mortis Praetorian units. Yeah. Command ability. You can use command ability at the end of the enemy charge phase. If you do so, pick one friendly Mortis Praetorian unit that either has the Hekatos keyword or is wholly within 6 inches of a friendly Mortec Hekatos, or is wholly within 12 inches of friendly Praetorian hero. Till the end of the turn, you can reroll hit rolls for attacks made by the units that target the enemy that made a charge move in the same turn. So you've got reroll hits available. Command trait, the Mortis Praetorian General must have the command trait, which is Katakros' chosen. Once per battle, at the start of the hero phase, this general gets D3 additional relentless points. That's fine. Artifact power, the first one you take must be this. Pick one of the berries melee weapons, change the characteristic of that weapon to rend characteristic to -3. So I don't think this is the good one, personally. Yeah. So that's the sub-factions. That's Mortis Praetorians. The Petrifex Elite, which Relian seems to be a big fan of. Yeah. Their abilities, Unstoppable Juggernauts. Add one to the save rolls for attacks that target Petrifex Elite units. So that's army-wide, +1 save.
Wow.
That's just
It's great.
You can bring it over if you want. It's huge. I think. I think that's the one, maybe, but there's a more trolly build I'm a big fan of. So then you got a command ability. You can use command ability in the combat phase. If you do so, pick one friendly Petrifex Elite unit. Anyway, there's loads of who can do it. But in the combat phase, improve the rend characteristic of melee weapons used by that unit by 1. You cannot pick the same ability to unit to benefit from twice. So,
Wow.
Yeah.
That's really good. That's great.
So that would be your Harbingers with +1 rend.
Yeah, all your Stalkers, 2 rend
On the Spirit Swords.
30
Right, no, they'd be
damage.
rend 3.
No, the Spirit Swords are rend 1. It's the
No, but doesn't it give them +1 damage and +1 rend?
Oh, yeah.
So rend 3,
yeah.
damage 2,
No
15
save.
attacks.
Yeah. No, 30 attacks.
30 attacks. No, it doesn't have to
30
be.
damage.
Yeah,
15
it's 15 attacks,
Yeah.
and if you want to,
damage 2.
you could add an extra attack onto them.
Yeah.
So they'd only get an extra 3 attacks, but you'd have 18 attacks, rend 3, damage 3. No, damage 2.
Damage 2.
Rend 3,
36.
damage 2.
Just from a small little footprint
From
like
3
that.
fellas. 3 fellas. How do you feel about that?
That's terrifying, yeah.
Yeah. Right. Yeah, and you're right. So 3+ armor on 40 dudes is mental. Put in those Gothazar harvesters, and they die. You bring them back because you don't have to do anything. You're not spending a command point. You're not casting a spell. Just 3-up save on 40 dudes. End of conversation. 5-up save against mortal wounds if you cast a spell on them. Gothazar harvesters start healing back into them.
No point in the harvester. They're not going to die anyway.
Good point.
Just take Stalkers and kill stuff.
Agreed. And then your command trait, obviously your general has to take it, add 2 to this general's wound characteristic. So if you took the guy on the horse, that'd be 9. Artifact of power, the first wound allocated to the bearer in each of this phase is negated. 9 wounds. Negate the first wound in every one.
Extra armor save.
He's on a 2+ save.
Yeah.
So the general's on a 2+ save, ignoring wounds.
Extra 2 wounds anyway.
Extra 2 wounds anyway. Can heal 3 a turn from a Bone Shaper.
Is extra fat, extra.
Right. So Petrifex Elite, I think, is an army that people are going to take. Also, like, it's just everything. Even the catapults, they've got an extra save. Your Stalkers have now got 3-up save, Nath, so a little bit more survivable like you wanted them to be. I wish people could just clip Nathan's face as his response.
This guy's
So then you've got the Stalliarch Lords. So these are the horse fellas, right? Units can run and still charge later in the same turn. Not bad.
That's great,
Yeah, for a slow army. I can't read the command ability, so I don't know what it is. Command trait. I'm just going to tell you guys I can't read it.
Can you still use the normal command points and the command abilities? So can I make runs into run 6?
Yeah.
So those... okay. Yeah, that's pretty good.
At the start of the combat phase, pick one enemy unit and a hero. So this is a different army now. So this is a different. You'd be taking a different one. So this is the command trait. At the start of the combat phase, pick one enemy unit, a hero within 3 inches of this general. Until the end of the phase, add 1 to hit rolls for attacks made by this general if the target the enemy hero, but subtract 1 from hit rolls for attacks made by this general that target any other unit. So you just get a bonus +1 to hit against heroes. So not great artifact at all. And then the artifact of power, the steed ridden by the liege is imbued with terrible power. You can roll D3 additional dice when this liege uses their unstoppable charge ability. So not bad. So you charge dice plus D3. You get similar ones: a retreat and charging. No, you can't use normal. Thank you, JPIC. No, thank you. Sorry, you can't use normal command abilities with this army.
Oh, okay.
There you go. Cheers, dudes. Appreciate you always. You can't get retreat and charge command ability. So the command ability for that army is retreat and charge. Retreat
and run and charge.
Run and charge and retreat and charge.
Wow. Okay, that's really good. Yeah, these guys are good as well.
So maybe take 15 horses, charge them, do your 15 mortal wounds. Well, not 15 mortal wounds, but your 5 mortal wounds. Run and charge. I don't see it. Why would you take that over your army that can survive and do output?
Yeah,
it's not the same. I like fast armies. Fast is strong. Movement's the best stat in the game, but there's no way. The only issue is will this army get pinned into its backfield? I think.
With that damage output that they seem to be able to kick out, I don't think so.
Yeah. Anyway, so then you've got the Ivory Host. This is pretty cool. At the start of the combat phase, each friendly Ivory Coast unit is within 6 inches of a friendly Ivory Host model that currently has any wounds allocated to it is a subject of rage, and until the end of the phase, I'd want to hit rolls for attacks made by that unit that is subject to rage, but subtract 1 from save rolls for attacks that target that unit until the subject to rage. So that's rubbish. So I'm against this command ability. You can use command ability in the combat phase. If you do so, pick one friendly Ivory Host unit. It's subject to rage and either has the Hecatos keyword or includes a Mortec Hecatos. So that's a boss man, or is wholly within 12 inches of friendly Ivory Host hero. In that phase, do not subtract 1 from the save rolls. So but still add 1 to the hit rolls. So as long as you do those things, you're not the -1 save, but just +1 to hit. I'm not bothered.
So you can spam that onto things.
Because
Like,
that's going to cost you that
if
point.
they've taken damage, then they get +1 to hit.
Yeah, I'm not. Yeah, nah, +1 save. You changed my mind so far. And then command trait. In each of your hero phases, roll a dice for this general. On a 5+, add 1 to the attacks. Characteristic of melee weapon by the general for the rest of the battle. And then the artifact of power. Pick one of the bearer's melee weapons and add 1 to the attacks characteristic of that weapon. So, fine.
Sure.
Whatever. Ivory Host sucks. That's okay. I thought I'd run out. So then, the best one. Right? I mean, the +1 save is probably the best one, right? But the crematoriums. Baby Nath. Let's get ready. This is troll-worthy. Roll a dice. Each time a crematorium unit, I think I've said that right, is slain. Basically, wait. Oh, no, hold on, yeah. Is slain by an attack made with a melee weapon. Before the slain model is removed from play, add one. By the way, when I thought this was on 32 mils, I was like, oh, maybe. But now I know they're on 25s. I'm about this. Add one to the roll for the slave model as a hero or monster on a 5+. Pick one enemy unit within 3 inches of the slave model, and it suffers 1 mortal wound. So I've got my 40 dudes. The Ghoul King on Terrorgeist flies over. Yeah. And he kills 30 dudes. I roll 30 dice. Yeah. If they're all within 3 inches. Yeah. And then, he probably would never be within that range. I don't know. Maybe. Let's just say I roll 30 dice. Like, he's going to take 15 mortal wounds. I also...
Then isn't it only a 5+?
No, it's because he's a hero or monster, you add +1.
Isn't it only if they're a hero or monster?
Remove from play. Add 1 to the save roll if the slain model... Oh, no, yeah, you're right. Yeah. Okay. So that's right. But don't worry, there's a command ability, which is Levelers of Cities. You can use a command ability in the combat phase. If you do so, pick one friendly crematorium's unit that has either the heck blah, 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 blah. Do not apply the cover modifier to save rolls for attacks made with the melee weapons by that crematorium units in that phase. Oh, have I read that wrong? There's another way to do it so that you can add +1. Oh, no, damn it. So it's just 5s. Damn it.
So it's a third.
I got that wrong. A third, not half. Wins, yeah. So you just do half. Yeah. A third, sorry. But then, like 8-Bit Jesus is saying...
Then you just have a harvester stood there.
2 harvesters stood there.
And they all come back to life.
That's the best one! There's no way that's not the best one. You just stand there with 40 dickheads with 2 harvesters behind, and you're like, well, you charge me, you'll take that many more wounds. Like, you can play around it, right? You can play around it because it's within 3 inches. Like, you can do a bunch of stuff. Like, it's
kill
really
the harvesters.
You've got to kill the harvesters. But if you kill the harvesters, you'll take mortal wounds for killing the harvesters.
Kill the characters, kill the harvesters, kill the dudes.
Wait, what's that quote? Just kill all the guys.
Kill everything.
Just kill everything. That one. Like, is Warpegs, thanks for subscribing, by the way. Is it the best one? Man, I don't know. But is it the most fun one? Fuck yes. Iron Jaws, they want to come fight me, right? Like, yeah. Like, maybe it's poor against cities with their shooting. I don't know. And lead belchers. Watch out for those. Deadly Zephyr. Anyway, so that's crematoriums. And they've got a command trait, which is, if this general is slain, add 2 to the immolation dice roll instead of 1. And if the roll is successful, it inflicts D3 mortal wounds instead of 1.
Oh, so when he dies, he does D3 mortal wounds.
D3 mortal wounds.
To whatever killed him.
Yeah, and then artifact of power. Pick one of the bearer's melee weapons. Add 1 to the damage characteristic of that weapon. That's pretty good for an artifact of power. You have to take. Then you've got Null Myriad. I think this is the last one. Each time a friendly Null Myriad unit is affected by a spell or an endless spell, you can roll a dice. If you do so on a 5+, you ignore the effects of that spell or endless spell on that unit. Command ability is hold fast. There's all the Hekatos keyword. It is wholly within 6 inches of a friendly Mortek Hekatos or wholly within 12 inches of the Myriad hero. The unit is not affected by a spell or endless spell on a roll of 2+ instead of 5+.
Wow.
So no spells.
So that's command ability.
That's a command ability.
That they use their funny points for.
Yeah.
Discipline points.
Yeah. So, yeah. 2+. 2+ immunity to...
Take a spanking, ignore those spells.
Ignore those spells. Take a spanking, ignore the spells. So then you've got command trait was unsettlingly sinister. Subtract 1 from hit rolls for attacks made by melee weapons that target this general. It's a pretty good one. In addition, subtract 1 from bravery. Oh, who cares? And then you've got artifact of power. The baleful blade is pick one friendly it's the one that was in the article, basically. You can just slay a unit, effectively. It's fine. Some people are super excited about it.
You can just slay a dude.
Yeah, you can slay a dude. The baleful blade. Like, you can't take saves against it. It's kind of interesting. I don't know. I don't reckon your heroes should be in combat. They're not that scary. Tackles what's possibly... So, Owner says, because Null Myriad tackles what's possibly the biggest vulnerability to this army, which is spells. But there's no spells that are... Like, there's no spell that's knocking through 80 wounds with a 3-up save.
No, well, I mean, like, your Mortek guard are susceptible to, like, the horde killing spells, aren't they? Because they're 1 wound models. So...
Yeah, but there aren't loads. There aren't loads of those in the game.
Well, like the ones that have units, like Gaunt Summoner, the Wurgog, the
Verminlord,
Verminlord.
Corruptor. Yeah, agreed.
So.
Yeah, maybe, but are we going to see more of those? An Elemental Cyclone, that's another one as well.
Yeah.
But then if half of them die and there's a Harvester behind...
Yeah, you just,
like the 3-up save with the Harvester...
They just all come back,
They just live. Or die, or repeat, or whatever you want to call it. So then you got some battalions. We haven't even done artifacts stuff yet. Yeah, so you ready for some battalions?
Yeah.
So you have... that's the super battalion.
Yeah,
So,
I guess it's right because they've got like such good saves. I think normal shooting will struggle against them.
yeah.
So you are going to rely on spells to do the damage at range, and that particular legion is just going to be like, well,
Yeah, you're taking
we
like
don't care.
army-wide +1 save's dumb because they're already pointed to have a save. Like, and now all the characters are on like 3+, 2+. So it's just it's bonkers. So then you've got the battalions, right? And then I think because it's super long, we're going to come back to artifacts and stuff another day. So I'm sorry about that. But, it's been a good 3 hours. Well, it will be by the time we've done this. So you've got the Aegeus Immortal Nath, this 1 Morghast Archive unit and 2 Immortis Guard units. You get the Undying Guardians. The Morghast Archive unit from this battalion has the Soulbound Protector's ability from the Immortis Guard War Scroll. In addition, when you use the Soulbound Protector's ability for a unit in this battalion and the dice rolls a 5+, the wound or mortal wound is negated instead of being turned into a mortal wound. So the ability to protect characters is also given over to the Archive unit, and you can protect a character really, really well.
And they negate it.
On a 5+, so you pass the wound on a 5+, you just negate it. It's great.
Yeah.
It's great. But like don't want to protect like. That doesn't play into the strengths of the army.
Yeah.
The characters aren't really pulling the weight in the army.
They're not, The characters are not that important, I guess, in that army.
No. So then you got the Cavalos Lance, which is an Arch Cavalos Xantos or a Liege Cavalos. So it's the 2 mounted heroes. Units of the battalion can charge even if they... and 2 units of Death Riders. Units from the battalion can charge even if they retreated earlier in the same turn if they're wholly within 12 inches of the lead. So either of those 2 characters... you only take 1, sorry. And you can use the Death Rider Wedge command ability for a unit from this battalion without spending the relentless. So it's the ability to do the mortal wounds. It doesn't cost you anything to do it, and you can retreat and charge. But obviously, you can put that in.
And that's on Death Riders only.
That's on the Death Riders,
not on the Archive or anything.
No.
Okay.
I think that's fine, but that's not the one. Then you got the Mortek Ballistari. So you got a Bone Shaper. You taking that? A Mortarch Guard unit. You're taking that. So that's your dudes, your Bone Shapers, your guy giving you your wounds back, and 2 Mortek Crawlers, you're taking them. Well, maybe, in some builds.
Yeah.
You roll a dice before you allocate a wound or a mortal wound to the Mortek Crawler from the battalion while it's within 3 inches of the Mortek Guard from the same battalion. Add 2 to the roll if the Mortek Crawler is within 3 inches of the Mortician Bone Shaper. On a 4+, that wound or mortal wound allocated to the Mortek's Guard instead of to the Crawler. So you can basically use the Guard to protect the Crawler. It's kind of cool.
Yeah.
It's kind of cool. You do a little 10-man blob. It doesn't really give you any other bonuses, so I'm not about it. So I think that's not good either. Then you got the Mortek Shield Corps. I like this one.
Okay.
3 units of Mortek Guard. Then it's Vorkmartian, the limited edition model from the box set. And then 1 Mortician Bone Shaper, 1 Mortician Soul Reaper, or 1 Mortician Soul Mason.
So a wizard, yeah.
Yeah, so a wizard. Once per turn, you can use the Shield Wall command ability, which is reroll saves, for this battalion without spending Relentless Disappoint point to do so. By the way, that particular battalion, so all the others, in my opinion, up till now have been trash. That one is 130 points.
Oh, wow. It's cheap, yeah.
And it's... Unstable Dice, thanks for subscribing, by the way. Means loads to us. And why that's super important as well. That's a 4-drop army. That's a wizard. That's your 3 battle line units. That's a 1-drop. Sorry, not a 4-drop. That's a 1-drop. And I mathed it out earlier. If I took 2 blocks and I took Vorkmartian... Sorry, if I took... it's about 1,300 points. If I took 2 full blocks, the battalion, another unit of 10, and I took a Bone Shaper, it's about 1,300 points. I could put nearly 4 catapults in there as well. I mean, I wouldn't do. But you could put 2 harvesters in, 400 points. That's 1,700. Put in 1 catapult. Play around with the points if you wanted a little bit. Right? Yeah. Owner says, I think their most expensive battalion is still cheaper than the cheapest battalion in my Nurgle army. Sergeant Rolf, good point, but the characters is the only way to guarantee discipline points. But it depends whether or not you think those discipline points are really super important. The reroll saves on the Mortek Guard, good. The Stalkers, it depends. Depends what you're aiming for.
Yeah.
I would just be looking to put loads of wounds with a 3-up save on the board, I reckon. Characters with a 2-up save. Nearly there, Nath. Sorry. So you got the Mortician Trident, which is a Bone Shaper, a Soul Reaper, a Soul Mason, and a Harvester. Each Mortician from the battalion can attempt to cast 1 extra spell in your hero phase within 18 inches of the Harvester from the same battalion, and within 3 inches of and is within 3 inches of enemy units. So it's terrible. Oh no, the Harvester is within 3 inches of enemy units. So no. Then you got the Deathglaive. So this is 2 Necropolis Stalker units, your favourite.
Yeah.
1 Morghast Harbinger unit. When the army is set up before the first battle round begins, if all units in this battalion are wholly within 12 inches of the Morghast Harbinger unit, you can move the units from the battalion up to 6 inches. So you can kind of which is cool.
Yeah, because they're movement 6 and 9 as well, so they can. Yeah.
They can do the work.
They can get up there.
Right? Yeah, really.
Get on up there.
So there obviously is still the endless spells to talk about, which they've got their own mechanic as well. A wizard casts it, and then it's soulbound, and that means that so in the endless spell phase, only the Bone Reaper player will be able to move their endless spells. Yeah. So, but that means that wizard is -1 to cast for the rest of the game while that spell is up, that endless spell.
Okay.
And also, if the wizard dies, the spell dies. So. They've got their own cool mechanic.
So just kill everything.
Just kill everything. Battalions also guarantee a discipline point too. That's a good point, Warpegs. So there's loads more to talk about. There's artifacts and relics, but we've been at it for 3 hours now. So I'll come back to that tomorrow. There's still more tribes to research. So there's definitely going to be more shows coming out this week. Me and Nathan will do more tribes next week. Yeah. So just off the bat, how do you feel about them?
They're quite an elite army, I think. So quite a few points. So not going to be loads of models, even if you just take loads of the Mortek Guard.
I mean, even if you took 80 Mortek, that's 880 points. Yeah. You need a character.
Sorry, but they are really good at what they do. They're really tough, aren't they?
Really? Well, only if you take them as tough, right? You can build them fast, you can build them anti-magic, but tough just stands out, or...
They are tough anyway, even if you don't take them.
It's true.
Yeah, they're just 4-up, 3-up saves all over the place.
Yeah. I mean, the characters are particularly tough.
Healing up and, yeah. Yeah, they're an elite army, aren't they?
I think the real issue is I think that army can get pinned in. They can get pinned back, like you said. I think board control might also be an issue for them. They've kind of got that Stormcast equivalent, where you see the armor saves, but my issue is really, where does the output come from? We talked about the Stalkers, absolutely. I think the
Stalkers and the Morkai can pick on things, but it's not like.
Which is why I'm really attracted to the Immolations kind of sect. I like the idea that I might be able to put enough bodies on that you hit me, I murder you. And then I res them all back. So
you're making your battle line units, your Mortek Guard, quite a bit of a threat then, aren't you?
Yeah, you're making them a threat, and also, they're not as defensive though. It's so hard not to run straight to +1 save to everything. That's just amazing. Your Harvester then has a 3-up save. 10 wounds, but with a 3-up save.
Yeah, you can put the extra rend on those dudes as well, yeah.
Yeah.
That's good.
But getting them in, and also another good point. So thank you, Warpegs, for bringing it up. It's not talking about Sinesh and its ability to come and hit you. They're hitting 1 wound models. when they're hitting the Mortek Guard.
Yeah.
I think they're the winners, which is a shame. I think the Death Riders are not the winners. But it's up to other people to change their mind. I like the Death Riders. I think they look sweet. I just wish they were better. I hate the Harvester and how it looks. But now, having read its rules, I love what it does mechanics-wise. Warrior 20C says, I wonder how to make an army fun while making this army fun while making it fun for your opponent. As in a lot of people are worried about these being the new /FEC. I would say go for the Exploding Mortal Wound build. That's a funny army. Like, you kill stuff, it kills you. And the catapults are strong as well, but you're finding, like, where do I put the catapults in? Like, do I want to do screening Mortek Guard? I don't know, because you can't put the harvesters and the catapults and the big blocks of 40 and the characters. Like, you know. And I definitely think it's about those 2-cast wizards, which is why I think because you can't really afford to be buying a bunch of different wizards. Yeah. So for 2 wizards... and the guys that
they're
heal.
not particularly strong in the magic phase, are they?
No, they're not. They don't really have any plus. But we haven't looked at the artifacts and the relics, right? No. Do they have any teleport ambush shenanigans? Only one that I know of so far, right? The double punch fist harvester is keen. I love you so much, bro. And Charles Black says it's £35 for 10 Mortek Guard. So yeah, it's going to cost you over £100 to put 40 of those boys on the board. Tons more if you're one of our Australian brothers or sisters or Americans. And it's typically not fun to fight a steel wall. I agree. But I do like the idea of hitting them and them exploding. It's kind of cool. I also like the idea of the catapults. Like you said, if you're really good and you can be doing like little 10s, but 130 points is a lot to screen with. Do you see what I mean? But I agree with you. Put some Stalkers behind there. Fucking countercharge with some Stalkers. Punch the crap out of stuff. Yeah. You can take Stalkers units to 12, Dave.
I don't think you'd want to. 3 is enough to kill.
Oh, a Mortek 20 per box. Well, that's excellent. Thanks, Relian. If you're sure about that, that's great. So that'd be 35. So that's only going to cost you 70 quid to put 40 on the board. Only. It's an expensive hobby, let's get real. Yeah. How do you think about them, like, mechanics-wise? Like, does it sound like a fun army?
I think you can make some fun builds with them. Yeah. I think you can make quite a... Hopefully you'll see a mix of units as well. You'll have the foot troops. You might have a unit of the horsemen to go out and grab objectives and harass. And then, but the Archi and them, they seem better for that.
Yeah. What, than the horses?
Yeah.
Yeah. Your mobility is coming from the Archi. Yeah, especially with 3d6 charge.
Yeah.
Come on, man. That's your one.
Yeah, that's probably...
And fly. People, like... I was going to make a point about that on the show earlier.
Yeah,
like, but I don't want to lambast it. But fly is huge. But the piling's 3 inches on the Death Riders is a big deal as well, right? You know, but is it? Because when they pile in, they're not doing anything when they get there. Whereas I think those they're fairly big bases. But I reckon the Archive might have their day in the sun at this stage. This might be their time.
It'd be quite nice to see a little, quite an MSU unit, army of them. That'd be quite cool.
Archive. Yeah, man.
Flying around.
I like the idea. Me personally, I like the idea of min Mortek frontline, 4 catapults straight out the back. Yeah. And then just seeing how many Archive counter punches I can hit. Make my opponent come to me, slam in, have a great time.
So have they got any way of contesting in activation wars? Not really.
No. Well, I haven't seen any artifacts, but no.
But other than obviously using the harvester just to make sure you don't die, so you're there to fight in the. Whenever you get your turn to fight, you're still there because they've not killed you. Yeah.
The thing about Katakros as well, I'm pretty certain he's keyword locked into the main. I'm just going to double check.
Into the Praetorian.
Praetorians. Is it called the Praetorians? Yeah, I'm pretty certain. 4 catapults would be just radical as well, I reckon. Like, is it good? No, but it'd just be like just sweet to do it. Into the Mortis Praetorians. So I think that means you can only take him in Mortis Praetorians, unless you can take him in everything else. But he doesn't. He can go in any. There we go. But he doesn't get their bonus.
Oh, okay.
So he doesn't get the +1 save. Not too bothered. Yeah, I'm not sure. 500 points is a lot when I can put down 40 wounds that capture objectives. I'd say. I don't know. Yeah. Anyway, look. I think, number one, he's a gangster, but I think the army's sweet. It's nice seeing Death get a pretty interesting faction. They're going to play like Stormcast. Maybe that means they're susceptible to mortal wounds.
Yeah.
You know, sniping out those characters maybe even more important than before because it's going to deny access to those command points. But does the army really need it? Like, it gets stronger because of it, but why does it need it?
Yeah.
I don't know. Like, I'm more scared of them taking out my characters with the catapults, right?
Yeah.
You know, battle shock off in units. I mean, they're immune to battle shock as well, so you can put little 10s down. I think ball control might be their main issue.
Yeah. Have they got allies? Access to allies?
I don't think. No, hold on. I've got that. I know that. You can also put Nagash in there and Arcan. We haven't covered that either, so I'm sorry about that. We will do that in the future. Allies, none. No. Screw you, buddy.
They're not very friendly, though.
No, they're not. Right, listen, Nathan, it's been great talking to you. Everyone on Twitch.
It's been interesting to learn about those guys. They sound like a good army.
It does. It's interesting to see it on the tabletop when we get there. Very strong. I can't see how 80 wounds with 3-up save isn't just dumb at this stage.
Yeah, sort of Fire Slayer level.
But the Fire Slayer's one block.
Yeah.
Almost traditionally. Like, in competitive builds, FYI, we're talking about. Yeah, I reckon you can put twos. Like, I don't think they can output. I don't think they can beat the Slayers in output.
It'd be interesting to see these guys fight Fire Slayers. They'll just slowly walk over to each other and kick each other in the dick until one dies.
I think Fire Slayers win it because they pile and activate twice, right? That's the issue. These guys don't have access.
Because fire burns bones.
That's science. And with that piece of science, Nathan, thank you very much for watching for being with me on the show.
Oh, I watched the show pretty much. Yeah.
Owen, OJ, thanks so much. Warpegs, Haywo. Pile and attack twice wins it for Slayer, says Haywo. And I agree with that statement. I think that's... I made it. No, that's fine. Warrior, Trading Post, 8-Bit Jesus, Dexamon, Relian, Warpegs, Mavsers, Onya. Like, thanks for joining us. You guys have been wicked. Vangelis, you're still here as well. Like, thank you for joining us. If you've enjoyed what we do, thanks for subscribing. You can join Patreon or you can subscribe on Twitch. That would mean the world to us. Thank you. Speckles, love you. See you soon. Says he's going to hug you this weekend.
All right, cool.
There'll be some more shows. 80 Mac, what up? There's going to be more shows tomorrow. The stat show's obviously on tomorrow.
Yeah.
Check our Twitter and Facebook and stuff for times. Excited to see what's going on. Can't wait to see Bo Daddies on the board. Big love to everyone. Thanks for joining us. Look after yourselves. Stay hydrated.
Yeah.
And stay
Thanks
honest.
a lot.
Bye.
Cheers.